NBC Sports Radio AM 1060 is KDUS Tempe Phoenix and KUPD HD2 Tempe Phoenix.
Live from the North Mountain Brewing Company, located at 522 East Dunlap Avenue, Phoenix, 85020. Come on down. I'm Dave, alongside Greg, and our special guest, Ed Smith, former NFL player, Atlanta Falcons. You got the Super Bowl ring on?
I always bring it just for you, Dave.
I love it. I tell you, that thing's heavy, too. I was doing curls with it one day. Anyway, we usually do real hockey talk, but actually there's not a lot of hockey going on. So there might be a few things we'll talk about later. So we'll jump right into breakthrough sports, which is sort of all-around sports. We'll talk a lot about things. But the Olympics coming up. And, Ed, you said you're going to watch it.
Yeah, it only comes around every, few years or so. And especially I'm fond of the Summer Olympics. So I'm actually going to take a peek this year, get a little track and field in, a little swimming, maybe even a little gymnastics.
Wow. So is that your favorite?
I would say probably the track and field is my favorite, bunch of events to watch. And, I'm going to try to do a little bit of the gymnastics this year. I hear there's a little hype about our team, so give them a little support. I hear there's a female gymnast we got to take a look at. I can't remember her name, but I'm going to take a look at her.
Is that because she's cute or she's good?
Well, I'm hoping it's because she's good. I'd like to see her represent that way. Most of them are cute anyway.
Yeah, they are actually, aren't they? And, but, yeah, it's going to be great. And, I was looking at the Olympics, the lineup, and you won't believe it. I didn't believe it when I first saw it. But guess how many events there are, or how many disciplines, I should say.
I would have absolutely no idea, to be honest.
I know. It's 42. Events, 306. Venues, 37.
Wow.
I don't know where they go. And countries represented, 206. I didn't even know there's that many countries in the world.
I guess it doesn't take much to be qualified as a country.
Yeah, I don't know. Probably not. So I hear Alaska might want to be a country, but I don't think it worked out for them. So this is going to be a really fun Olympics. I think we're going to focus every Saturday on a few events. And today we're going to have a special guest call in about 6 minutes who's going to be at the Olympics as a volunteer. Not a volunteer to participate in the action, but to help run the Olympics. And if there's any unruly fans or unruly world people,
he's going to take care of them.
Yeah, so we're hoping that is the case. And so
he's not concerned about that Zika?
Yeah, I would. There's a lot of concerns, I think, right? The Zika
thing.
And the water, I heard.
Or the Trump-Putin. Yeah.
What is that?
The Trump-Putin?
Trump. No, I don't think that's going to happen. But there, and security's got to be a little, it may be scary.
Yeah, no, I've already heard a couple stories.
Yeah. So we wish everyone well, obviously, and Maya Drysdale is going to be doing the commentary for women's basketball.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I saw her a couple weeks ago, so she's looking forward to that. She's really good at that anyway. And, of course, truly one of the top, she's a pioneer in laying the pathway for women's basketball. But we're going to talk about the women's basketball team. They are phenomenal. Wait till you hear the stats on the women's team. And, of course, two of the players I interview regularly on the Mercury, Brittany Griner and Diana Taurasi.
Oh, yeah.
Certainly, Diana, phenomenal. Brittany hasn't, sort of off and on a little bit. And I think maybe she's been injured. They're certainly pushing her around a little bit, and that, I guess, could take a toll. But still, certainly going to be a superstar if she's not now. They left off Candace Parker from the Sparks, a surprising, phenomenal player, and that might be. I don't think they're going to miss her, though. Wait till you hear the stars.
Did they leave her off, or did she just decline not to go?
She couldn't make the team.
Wow.
That's crazy, right?
Well, she's one of the 4 players in the league I've heard of, so I would have thought she would have been on there.
Well, L.A. Sparks, you love L.A. as a son.
No, I just mean it's one of the 4 players in the league that I've heard of, so I thought she'd make it.
Yeah, it's interesting. And now we're also going to talk about, with Scott, the national, of course, soccer team, as they call it in the world football.
Yeah.
Another phenomenal team. So
the
odds are right now the U.S. women's basketball team will win, and the soccer team. And it looks, they haven't started, obviously, but we're going to look at that as well and see what's going on there. If we have time, we're going to look at the most decorated sport of all, a sport that is really incredibly popular, incredibly everyone learns it, everyone's played it. It's called badminton. Mm-hmm. So we're going to see how that is and why baseball got knocked out and badminton is still in the Olympics.
Yeah, badminton. I mean, you can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, if you're bad, you're minton.
Speaking of baseball, when you said that, just for later on in the show with the trade deadline, the non-waiver one coming up, a couple moves today, actually a pretty big one with the Washington Nationals and Pittsburgh Pirates, so we'll get into that later.
Oh.
And could be a big 3-team trade on the horizon with the Dodgers, Reds, and one other team that's unknown.
Could be good action?
It could be a blockbuster, yes.
Oh, wow. Really? So that could be really good.
There's going to be some, and Daniel Hudson, maybe we've seen his last game as a Diamondback. I think soon he'll be moved.
A lot
of chatter on him. Yeah, even though he struggled mightily, still he has a good arm.
Okay, cool. 1:30, we, of course, the Arena Football League having their playoffs start, I think it's August 6th.
Yeah.
We got General Manager, Head Coach Kevin Guy calling in at 1:30. Richard Obert with the Republic is due here to participate. In fact, I think I see him right now.
There he is.
There he is. Can you believe it? Just as I said it.
And he knew it, too. He was listening, and then here he comes.
Yeah, and there is Richard.
Should have the intro for him.
Yeah, so I call him Mr. Rattler. This guy knows everything about the Rattlers. Biggest fan, a great writer, by the way. Mm-hmm. And there's Richard, and Richard will get you on soon. So we're going to talk some Arizona Rattlers. We want everyone to get down there. They have right now, the home games for the first two playoff games, pending tonight action. We will, against Philly, the Soul against the Predators, that they play, I think, around 4 o'clock out here. Yeah. That could determine the seeds, or will, I should. And I believe if Philadelphia wins, then you may see if the Rattlers win the first two playoff games.
Yes.
The Arena Bowl right here in Phoenix. Actually, in Glendale.
Yeah, they'll play over there. Yeah.
Wow, they can pack that house.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Yeah, that'll be a sellout. And that's a great arena. So,
have they played a game in that state?
They never have.
No,
yeah,
okay.
I mean, Talking Stick Arena is good too. No question. That's a little more centrally located actually, but Gila River, nice. Coyotes play there at least for the next year, and they will take out the ice. I understand.
That might be an incentive for me to slide. That's on the west side, next over there to me.
But Westgate's sort of cool, right?
Yeah,
nice,
a lot
nice
of things to do.
area.
Yeah.
And then you said, I know we're going to talk about probably NFL.
Training camps just opened up. It's basically literally first days throughout the league. So, we talk a little bit about what everybody's experiencing through those first few days of camp.
Yeah. So we'll talk about also predictions. I mean, by all accounts, it seems like the Cardinals still
they are getting a lot of love. There's a lot of talk about them being basically the number one ranked team in the NFC.
How about Seattle? I'm always intrigued with that team.
Well, Seattle's going to take in my opinion, probably take a little step back because of the retirement of Marshawn Lynch. So I mean, it's going to be a fight in the West out here. But as far as everybody's concerned, the Cardinals are the team to beat right now.
Wow, that's exciting. I mean, well deserved. I mean, they've been coming up nicely for. Since they got Bruce Arians.
Yeah, and that's what I like. It's been a gradual escalate. They've been gradually just kind of rising up the ranks.
Every year.
Yeah, it's not. They haven't been like a flash in the pan. They've actually done.
But you don't want an injury to any of the quarterbacks.
No.
A couple of years ago, remember they went to their third or fourth string.
Yeah.
Difficult, right? To say the least.
Very.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's see. Joining us right now is one of the most versatile writers and really follows women's sports, Scott Momasser. Scott, welcome to the show.
Hello. Great to be here again.
Yes, always a pleasure to have you on, especially you cover women's sports, and that's got, who's breathing heavy when I mention women's sports? Okay. Anyway, let's talk about that a little bit. You're going to the Olympics. You're leaving, Monday?
Monday, 2 more days.
You got to be excited, right?
Yes. Very excited.
Yeah, just take care of yourself. Watch the water and any suspicious activity. But it should be a great event, no question about it. The world stage, always amazing. But let's talk a little bit about two teams that I think certainly are favored and have done a phenomenal job historically at the Olympics, and that's number one, the U.S. women's basketball team. It's amazing. Ed and Greg, this is amazing stat. 41-game Olympic winning streak. 41-game. And Scott, is that amazing?
Amazing.
That dates back to Barcelona in 1992.
That's incredible. I mean, they had a bronze medal back then in '92. You're right, but since then it's 5 gold medals, and they're probably the overwhelming favorite, right? When you think
definitely.
Yeah.
Probably not as big as UConn was the overwhelming favorite. The margin shouldn't be that large, but they should cruise to the gold medal. There's some teams that are pretty good: Spain, Serbia, Australia, Japan, but still the Americans should cruise.
Yeah, well, they've had a 58-3 record all time in Olympic competition, which is really, amazing in itself. Now, Australia typically has been the tough competition for USA, but Lauren Jackson retired due to knee injuries. That hurts Australia. Yeah, that's a tough one for them. But going for their 6th goal. Now, some of the players, and Scott, you may want to comment on some of these amazing players, some of the amazing scorers like Elena Deladon, for example.
Well, there's Elena Deladon. She's going to be in her first Olympics. Brianna Stewart, it's her first time. Brittany Griner is her first time. She could have been on the team in London, but she opted not to go. And then the usual: Tina Charles, Lindsay Whalen, Maya Moore, and then Diana, Tamika Catchings, and Sue Bird. What could be their final last one for Catchings? So it should be pretty special.
And she's quite a defender, Tamika Catchings.
Yeah.
Angel McAltry also on the team.
Right. She'll be back. This is her 2nd Olympics. She was there in London, and I mean, she's one of the younger 3 players, or who can play the small forward, shooting guard. So yeah, they could. They'll definitely need her.
And what's interesting is there's 4 players from the Minnesota Lynx on this.
Yeah, amazing.
It really is. I mean, and then you got 2 from the Mercury, but boy, it just shows the depth and the strength of Minnesota.
Yeah, they have Sylvia Fowles and Simone Augustus too, and then Rebecca Brunson is that 5th Lynx starter who you just feel could almost be on the Olympic team. She's had such a great career.
Oh, no question. What's up with Candace Parker? Why did they leave her off? They couldn't find a place for her?
Well, I mean, you're talking about the 12 best players in the country, and somebody had to be number 13. And unfortunately, it was her. And if you look at the year she's having with the Sparks, her and Nneka Lumake, who is also in the last cut, I mean, they really got a chip on her shoulder, and they can show everybody, well, you made a mistake, and they're looking really good. They're gonna, prove everyone wrong in the pros.
Yeah, but it's a tough one, with all these not celebrities, great.
Right, somebody has to, be cut. If you're talking 12 of the top players in the country or the world at this point.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Now, Brianna Stewart, the WNBA's number 1 overall draft pick in 2016, will come off the bench. That shows how much depth that this team has. And of course,
last I saw, she was one of the leading rebounders in the league. So as a rookie.
Oh man!
I think she's averaging a double-double. But she's 18 or 22 years old. She should be fitness for the next 3-4 Olympics.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
This is a good starting point for her.
No doubt. Now, a big test, I want to see if you can pronounce, of course, the UConn coach of the women's team, Gino, and his last
Gino
name.
Oriema.
Oriema. All right. He, believe it or not, is 23-0 with the Team USA. 23-0.
Amazing coach.
I mean, and what he's done with UConn is ridiculous, too. So it's really definitely an impressive situation, and I encourage people, definitely watch that. You're going to see some great talent. I mean, Maya Moore herself is so smooth, such a great player. I mean, people are going to enjoy this. I think women's basketball, hopefully it's not underrated, but I do hope people start watching it because it is fascinating and fantastic to watch. These great athletes.
And the rest of these teams are catching up, too, so they're really improving.
Yeah. So it's going to be good. I mean, Maya Moore, 27 years old, won 3 WNBA championships already, 11, 13, and 15 with the Lynx, and WNBA Most Valuable Player Award in 14, selected the 4 WNBA All-Star teams. I mean, this is just ridiculous how good this team is. And so we'll see what's happening with this. And, you know, there's some other good players. Elizabeth Cambridge from Australia, for example, at 6'8", huge, right? So she's a little Sancho Little from Spain. She's I think she plays on Atlanta Dream right now, and she's quite a player too. So you're going to see some pretty good competition, and probably the matchups to watch. Probably USA and Australia, and USA and Spain, I would say.
Yeah, so I have tickets to the USA-Spain game. So.
Oh, excellent!
Looking forward to that.
Oh yeah, you're going to see some good action.
That was the matchup from the World Championship gold medal game.
Oh yeah, so that's going to be fun. You're going to like that. Now, moving on to another phenomenal team. We've had some of their players on our show before. I just love watching this team. Of course, the national USA team for soccer. Again, they are favored, and no team has ever followed a Women's World Cup title with an Olympic gold in the following year. And that's what is on the line here. They won the World Cup last year. It's funny, I wanted to see it. I was going on a cruise, and the arena in Vancouver was right next to the cruise ship. And I get on the cruise ship, and guess what? They go, we're not televising it. I go, what?
Wow.
And before I knew it was 2-0, they announced the scores within minutes. USA just crushed Japan. And Scott, this is really weird, is Japan didn't even make the cut. They are not in the Olympics this year, and they're a pretty good team.
Right.
How do you explain that? They were World Cup. They were the Olympics last. I think they played the U.S. 4 years ago, I believe, in the Olympics. So that's hard to explain, but it's amazing. Now, there's some out with the old here.
They had to go through the Asian qualifying, and it was China and Australia, I believe, that made it from that confederation.
Yeah, so it's only 12 teams that are going to play. But nevertheless, still there's some competition. Of course, Amy Wambach and Shannon Box retired. And most people know Amy Wambach. I mean, she was an icon for years. So there's some new players, but there's still some of the old favorites. Heather O'Reilly didn't make the reduced 18 player roster.
Bad.
Yeah, and she's played really well. She's but an injury alternate though, so you never know, right? Maybe she comes back. Some new upcoming stars: Crystal Dunn, Lindsay Horan, and 18-year-old Mallory Pugh will get their first taste of the Olympics. The Olympics major tournament. So they got some new players. And Greg, I know one of your favorites of all time. We've had her on the show, Alex Morgan.
She's fantastic.
Yes,
what a player. And now, you guys, I stepped away for a second. Did you talk about Hope Solo? Is she still with the team?
And we had a one-on-one interview with
her. Oh, you
her.
talked to her, yeah.
Yeah, I have it on our YouTube, I guess.
I was worried she hit you.
No, she didn't.
Here's the thing.
When she hit me, I said, then make it better, and she'll kiss me.
Now, obviously, the games are played on the field, but, Scott, how do you see this team doing? I mean, is it are they a favorite to win the gold? Mm-hmm.
They didn't allow a goal the entire CONCACAF qualifying tournament.
Oh wow!
So Canada didn't allow one the entire group stage, and Hope Solo, the goalie for the Americans, it was the entire tournament. They should again be the heavy favorite. We'll see what happens with Brazil if they can claim that home field advantage. I mean, they still have Marta,
and
France, Sweden, China, Colombia. They're all still there. So it should be good. If not, the battle for the silver and bronzes. But I'd like to see how Brazil reacts with the home field advantage. It didn't work out for the men too well in the last World Cup, but
that's right.
See how they do.
But we still got some of the veterans. Carly Lloyd, excellent. We talked about Alex Morgan, Hope Solo, Becky Soderbrunn, and others. So it's sort of out with the old. The veterans are there, and now some new players.
Yeah.
But boy, I just love watching the U.S. team. They're just so can be dominating at times.
Right.
And Hope Solo she doesn't miss a beat. She just keeps. Goaltender.
I mean, she has a little advantage. I mean, her uncle, of course, Han Solo, and so she learned a lot of those tricks.
Yeah, you're quite correct on that. So that's going to be exciting. So, do you have any tickets for that one, Scott?
No, I do not. I'll be working at the track and field for volunteering, and then they opened up some tickets. I got my days off, so I got some basketball, handball, fencing, and kayaking.
Oh, okay.
So
and not
Pretty
badminton.
good.
We're going to do
No, badminton was tough to get.
Oh, was it really?
Well, it's in demand. I mean, that's the biggest one there is. Like Dave said, when you're a kid, whatever country you're in, whatever continent, country, wherever, even if you live out of the Earth, you can live on Mars. You need to learn badminton when you're little. I mean, that is the number one sport.
I haven't played that in a long time. Oh, maybe I played it in the past year. But yeah, that's a fun one to play.
Yeah. That is fun. It's they say it's pretty grueling, and but we'll probably go over that a little bit. And so anyway, what else? Any other particular events that the U.S. has that heavily favored that you know right now?
So there's Simone Biles. If she does what she's capable of doing and what she's predicted to do, she has to be the greatest U.S. gymnast label.
Oh, wow.
She's already the three-time defending world champion, and if she wins the all-around plus some other individual medals, that is pretty high company.
Wow,
but it's just what she's done in between the past. She didn't make the team in London, but just ever since then, she's been the dominant female athlete. So she's there. Serena Williams is in the tennis. Alison Felix in the track. Jessica Ennis for Great Britain in the heptathlon. Katie Ledecky, Misty Franklin in the swimming. We got some of the all-time greatest female athletes competing in this event. So it should be a lot of chances for repeat gold medals.
Yeah, this is...
and then on the men's side, Ashton Eaton and Usain Bolt. I mean, it's amazing what they had a chance to do.
Michael Phelps as well.
Yeah, well, he's already done it all.
Yeah, he's just going to add to it.
Yeah.
At 30
but
years
I think
old.
With Eaton, he can get the repeat in the decathlon, and he's the world record holder, defending world and Olympic champion. Amazing.
Speaking of Michael Phelps real quick, I was in Vegas like 7 years ago, and it's when that picture of him, I think, smoking weed with his bong first came out. I had shaggy hair. I kind of have long hair now. But, I'm walking, and I have one of those big yard drinks that they have at many places out there on the Strip, like Coyote Ugly. And real quick before break, I'll just mention, as I was walking by, looking down, drinking it, this old guy comes by and says, "Yep, there's Michael Phelps."
Oh, he looked
and he
like
points
Michael.
at me. Yeah, there we go.
And you gave him an autograph, and you became rich after that.
There we go.
Scott Momazzer, thank you so much. Any contact information you want to give out real quick?
If you have any questions, feel free to email me. My email is scottm8882@gmail.com.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Scott. Have a good time in the Olympics.
Thank you
we'll
for
talk to
having
you when
me.
you get back.
Thanks,
You're
Scott.
more than welcome. And we're live, North Mountain Brewing Company and 522 East Dunlap Avenue, Phoenix. Come on down. We're here till 4. We'll be right back.
The NFL season never stops, so stay up to date with Pro Football Talk Live with Mike Florio. Weekday mornings on NBC Sports Radio, AM 1060.
And welcome back again. You're listening to Breakthrough Sports live at the North Mountain Brewing Company, located at 522 East Dunlap Avenue, Phoenix. Come on down. We're going to be here till 4. We're talking sports. We're going to talk a little bit of Arizona Rattlers leading into the playoffs, seated number 2 right now. So we'll see what happens. And, of course, we have Ed Smith, former NFL player, Atlanta Falcon, with his Super Bowl ring on. I love that. Man, that's a good one. And joining us right now is Richard Obert from Arizona Central, Arizona Republic. And I'm going to call you Mr. Arizona Rattler. You know everything about the Rattlers. I see you at all the games, and you really have a passion for it, don't you?
I love the game. I don't think it gets enough credit. It's fast, furious, exciting, and it's a great team to cover, especially a team with Kevin Guy, the way he's got this team going, and he always makes it fun. I mean, they're always winning, they're always on top, and it makes it so much easier to cover a team that has great success like this.
Oh, yeah, and they've had such great success since Kevin took over. Phenomenal. And joining us soon, I believe, will be Kevin Guy, probably momentarily. So we'll put him on as soon as he joins us. Now, I guess they had a tryout right now. Kevin always works, doesn't he? He's always trying to improve the team. And none of these players, if he sees anyone, can join this year, right? It's for next year, you think?
I'm not really sure what, but I know since the players aren't around this week, he's because of the CBA, they can't be around during the bye week. But what he's got going is, it's a good chance to evaluate talent for maybe next season and beyond, and just get these guys going, because last year. He discovered Joe Matthews, who unfortunately got hurt early in the year, but he made the team and contributed a couple games. He had a couple really good games, but then he got hurt, and he's been out for the year. But Matthews came out of that tryout camp and showed that hey, anything can happen.
Yeah, there's no doubt. They've had some good ones throughout the years at the camps. Now, so that was this morning, and I think they get a lot of people participating, because everyone knows Arizona Rattlers. It's probably the class of the whole league, actually, and but we'll see what happens. Now, Arizona 13-3, another fine record again. But you got some other good teams here: Philadelphia Soul, Orlando Predators, both 12-3, and they play today in a couple hours, I think.
Yeah, the Rattlers actually, they're the number 1 seed right now because they've had one extra game.
That's right.
One more win than Philly and Orlando. But if Orlando wins, then the Rattlers would drop to number 2 heading into the playoffs. So, they're looking to see if Philadelphia wins, and the Rattlers will be able to host the Arena Bowl if they're fortunate enough, which will be played in Glendale this year because of the conflict in schedule.
Which will be really exciting. I mean, they had about 4 years ago, I think they played. I think it was Orlando again, and they lost in the last play, actually.
Or Jacksonville.
Oh, was
it
Jacksonville?
2011 was the start of 4 consecutive Arena Bowl appearances for the Rattlers, and that was the last time they hosted a championship game was in Phoenix, and one of the all-time greatest Arena Bowl championship games ever played. I mean, it went back for Aaron Garcia was the quarterback of the Sharks, and came down to one play. They had that's all they had time for.
Virtually
one play.
About a second, 2 seconds
something
left.
Like I mean they had something like 10 yards to go or something, and Garcia just took, he had time, and then he just finally found a receiver that got open, and that was it. That just broke. I mean, the whole arena just went silent. It was unbelievable. I remember that night.
I remember too. I was standing up like probably all the fans, and when that very second when you saw the ball being thrown, the guy was pretty wide open. You knew right then, right? He's not going to miss that. And how did you feel?
It was tough.
It's a balloon being deflated.
Yeah,
right?
you go through the roller coaster emotions with the team because you're covering the team all year, so you get close to the team, and you can't help it. You're human. You can't help but want to see the team do well and win. But that was a tough way to lose. I mean, those guys were good afterwards. I mean, they were man up, and they admitted, hey, we made some mistakes, late in the game. That was costly, and I think that was the impetus for Kevin Guy to get that team rolling. They won 3 consecutive Arena Bowl championships after that, and that just fueled it, because I think that still weighs on Kevin Guy. I think he still feels like, man, he missed an opportunity to win a championship at home, and I think he would love more than anything in his life right now, he would love to have the Arena Bowl back in Arizona and to be able to win in front of the fans.
Yeah, no question about it. And, of course, you don't see the Rattlers being knocked out of anything usually. Now, that was one time that happened. But the second time was last year. The Sabercats, who are no longer in the league. That I don't even understand, actually. And maybe I'm not supposed to understand it. Do you know anything about that? Because they're the champs and had a good. It looked like they drew a lot of good. They had to play in Stockton.
It's just ownership decision by ownership. I think the Fries, they were looking to kind of cut corners here and there, and I don't know if financially they were finding ways to cut back. And I know they put everything they could possibly into last year's team with resources and putting in a lot of money and just trying to get that team built up to be able to beat the Rattlers. That was their single goal, was to be able to beat the Rattlers last year. And they did it. They did it on kind of a late last fluke play where it was very controversial because there's no end zone. There's no end zone cameras to be able to really show whether a guy fumbled or not before going into the end zone. And some people felt that he did fumble, Reggie Gray fumbled before he went in the end zone, but it was ruled a touchdown.
Right.
And that gave San Jose the lead in the last minute, and they held on. They won that game, and that was the National Conference Championship game. And then San Jose went on the next week to just crush Jacksonville in the championship game. So that the Rattlers had won that, you'd be looking at they'd be winning 4. They'd have 4 championships in a row.
Yeah, I was at that game. I went down to Stockton, and it looked to me, to me as a fumble, but how they ruled, if they ruled it a fumble and then they would have replayed it, it would have been a fumble.
Yeah.
It just depends how they originally ruled it. I know Coach wasn't happy. I don't think anyone was on the Rattlers very happy about that. But those are only 2 big games I've ever seen them lose, and so they're back they're back big time now. And are there any weaknesses that you see on this team?
I don't know. I mean, some people might look at the kicking game with Zendejas. He missed 4 PATs last week. But it was a blowout win, so you don't really look at that. It didn't hurt the team because they won by 48 points, and so but at the same time, Zendejas has been really, really good about the bar ball. He's gotten some key bar balls this year that's really helped the Rattlers. Created turnovers and kind of turned games around. So for all the PATs that he might miss, he's also very, very good at kickoffs and the kickoff team has been very, very improved this year, especially down the stretch. The last few weeks have been really, really, really good in that area.
Yeah. Now they played 2 weeks ago on a Monday night, Orlando, and pretty much crushed them. But they had to win by 18 or 19? 18 points.
19,
yeah, to get the number 1 seed, and last-minute field goal, just seconds left. sealed the deal for Orlando to stay within the number one seed.
Yeah, and you don't see field goals kicked anymore in the Arena Football League. It's almost like it's a lost art.
Yeah.
You're always seeing coaches going for it on fourth down now, and but they've got one of the best kickers. I think he's the best kicker in the league, Mark Lewis for the Predators, and it was just a chip shot for him, and they acted as if they won. They were celebrating about it. I mean, because they did win the tiebreaker with that field goal. So, but although they ended up losing by 16 or 17.
Oh yeah. It was one of the better games I thought Rattlers played. I thought Purify was just sensational in that. Boy, he made some highlight reel catches and runs, jumping over a defender. That was sort of cool, and dragging three players over the goal line about 3 yards out for a TD. He has to be pretty strong to do that.
Yeah, when you've got Purify and Rod Windsor together in receiving core, I don't think there's another team in the league that can match that. And then with Nick Davila, the way he's throwing the ball right now, he's been red hot. I mean,
he was 26 out of 28.
Yeah.
Ed, have you ever heard that before? 26 out of 28, Nick Davila.
That's near perfection right there.
I mean, it's like, how does he do that? It's like he's really talented.
Yeah, he just knows this league inside out, the nuances and everything, and it takes a different kind of quarterback. I mean, he's got to study, he's got to read. He's really quick at reading the defense and getting his receiver. He's got really good, big physical receivers. You hardly ever see Kevin Guy with a smallish receiver out there. He likes these big jumbo receivers who are very athletic, like Purify and Rod Windsor. They're very strong, athletic. They can make plays after catches, break tackles. And he gets those guys in motion, and he does a lot of different things late in the year. He'll change it up and put in new plays, and I think that's what makes the Rattlers so good right now, is because Kevin Guy's always looking for another way to throw another wrinkle into the offense to surprise the opponent.
Yeah, there's no doubt. What makes Kevin Guy such an amazing coach, in your opinion?
He is just incredibly intense. At the same time, he just knows how to push everybody's buttons. Everybody's got a different way, a different motor to them, and he knows how to press everybody on that team's, how to get them going, how to get them motivated. He's kind of like the Nick Saban of arena football. He's just on top of everything. He's a stickler to detail. Nothing ever goes over his head. He catches everything. He studies everything. He reads everything. I mean, you just wonder if he ever sleeps or takes time for himself, because he's always studying this game and trying to find an edge, and he works it. He works it better than any coach I've ever seen.
It's so interesting, and Ed, you've been around coaches at the NFL level, and, well, a lot of different levels, of course. But, when someone lives and breathes this and makes great decisions, great recruiter, I mean, you got a winner there. And how many, not even at the big leagues, I mean, there's some good and there's some not.
Well, the thing that impresses me the most about Coach is, one, he's doing multiple jobs.
He is
putting the roster together. He's coaching the team up. He's putting the game plans together. We've over the years, we've watched him do his thing, and that's the most impressive thing for me. And then, I like the relationship he has with his players as well.
Yeah.
And he's very professional, but you can tell he's a player's coach as well.
And he's up front, too. He says, this is what I expect, right?
And quite honestly, during my career, there were coaches that I would run through a brick wall for, and he strikes me as one of those guys. He gets the best out of his players, and that's, it shows each week in and week out.
And speaking of the great coach that we're talking about right now, joining us right now, general manager and head coach for the Arizona Rattlers, Coach Kevin Guy. Kevin, how are you?
Doing great. How you doing, Dave?
Hey, I'm doing great. We got some surprises. We got Ed Smith here again from last week. Say hi.
How you doing, Coach?
And we got one of your favorites, I'm sure, is Richard Albert's here live from the Arizona Republic.
The legend.
Yeah.
The legend, Richard Albert, baby.
Oh, yeah. We're big fans. And yeah, we've been talking about the Arizona Rattlers, but first of all, before we talk about the playoffs, and congratulations last week to a big victory, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And how did you had a tryout today? Talk about that a little bit.
Well, we did. We wanted to get an early start on recruiting this year, and also, wanted to have some answers in case we get into some injuries, during the playoffs. Wanted to know who was out there and who was available, because once we start the playoffs, you can't really make a lot of roster moves based on the league rules. But you can sign new players, and we wanted to make sure we had some answers in case we got into injury.
Wow, that's smart. That's really, really good. Anyone impress you out there?
Yes, there were several guys that impressed me. So I was pretty pleased. I thought there was a good workout today. We had a lot of guys from out of state that flew in for the workout. I was very impressed with the talent level.
Nice.
Yeah, hey, Kevin, how are you guys going to spend the rest of the day as coaches? Do you guys tune into the Philadelphia-Orlando game or keep your eye on the Portland-LA Kiss game? How does that work?
Well, Portland and LA play Monday, Richard. So today it's just going to be we're going to be watching Philly and Orlando. So, yes, to answer your question, we're getting together as a staff and actually going to go to Marley's and hang out together and watch the game. So we're pretty excited to see where we're going to wind up today.
Oh, excellent. Now, for our listeners that may or may not know, Philadelphia playing Orlando in Orlando. And if Philly wins, then Arizona becomes number 1 seed. Is that correct?
If Orlando loses tonight or any time during the first 2 rounds, we become the number 1, the top seed. So we just got to make sure that we handle our business.
Yeah.
A lot of people focus so much on Orlando and Philadelphia. I think sometimes they forget about Jacksonville, the Sharks, and that's another team that could give both of those teams a hard time in that conference, which is much improved. Is it kind of like, gosh, those 3 teams, it could be anybody coming out?
I think so. I think coming out of the East, it could be anybody. I mean, let's face it, guys. Tampa beat us, and they're in last place. So, you got a lot of parity in this league this year. Portland has taken Orlando 2 times, all the way down to the last minute of the game. They almost beat Philly, so, I mean, they can match up with anybody. So, I mean, this is not one of those years that you want to overlook anybody.
Yeah, you pretty much have to play your game and against any of these teams. If you make a couple mistakes, that's the mistake that could cost you the game, it sounds like.
Oh, no question. I mean, to answer Richard's question, Jacksonville is as talented as any team in the league, so they can match up with anybody. It's just a matter, from a chemistry standpoint, they got to get whatever they got to get worked out and get the, executing and making plays together. But they can match up with anybody.
Yeah, there's no doubt. They are a very talented team. So looking ahead to the playoffs, which is, I believe, is it August 6th? Yeah. Talking
Saturday, yep.
Against Portland. So how do you prepare for that? Do you prepare a little differently for playoff games versus regular season games?
No. We prepare for each game, the same. And, we're big routine guys. I mean, whether it's the first game of the season or we're playing for the Arena Bowl, we go through the same routine every week. Now, obviously players may watch extra film on their own time, but, we have enough time with them. We get to cover everything that we want to cover. And, so also I think that, you start making a lot of changes in what you usually do. The mindset may go somewhere else. I just, we keep it the way. We prepare the same way every week.
Oop. Okay.
You'll be coming off you're coming off a bye. Sometimes a regular season that can trip up a team, but you've had buys before the Arena Bowls before, and you guys have come out spectacularly and fired up. And do you look at it in that way that, hey, it's a playoff now, do or die, and so you expect no letdown at all from these guys coming back?
I don't see a letdown. I think our guys are pretty poised right now and dialed in and on what we're trying to accomplish. And, we're excited. I think that the rest is going to help us, and we'll come out ready to play. I mean, I liked how we finished off the season and how these guys, put themselves in a position to be the number 1 seed.
Yeah, and that's real important. And, of course, I know it's important to you to have a championship out here winning the game. And, of course, that would be, if that comes to fruition, would be at Gila River. Just tell us how big that is that would be for you, and how big would it be for the team as well as the fans?
To be the number one seed?
To win, actually, the Arena Bowl here in Arizona.
Oh, yeah. We definitely want to do that. I mean, that's probably one of the things that this poor group we have not been able to accomplish is try to win one in front of our fan base. We want to do that, so we're excited about that, and we're going to go, go try to finish this thing off the right way. And like I said, I like where we're at as a team.
Coach, as a staff, do you have a kind of a wish list of how, maybe who you think you match up best against and how this all kind of unfolds, or is it just whoever shows up?
No, I think you got to go through them all. So I'm not really trying to pencil in anybody. I mean, when I look at this deal, like I said, there's a lot of parity in the league this year. So I think a lot of teams can match up with the worst teams can match up with the best teams. So we definitely, we're definitely not going to overlook anybody.
Portland's actually a better team than a lot of people probably think because, they beat Jacksonville late in the season. You guys have had trouble with Jacksonville. I know they had Nick Truesdale, really big receiver, tight end type, and he's just went to the Indianapolis Colts, signed with the Colts. Is that going to be tough for them to overcome, or you see this team as being able to find different parts and get them dialed in, ready for you guys?
Well, we've beat them with Truesdale and we've beat them without Truesdale. I think receivers, it's easier to overcome those guys than some other positions. You can find some receivers that come in and help you out. So there's a lot of receivers sitting out on the street right now without a home. So, now we're used to seeing a different level of receivers here in Arizona, so we've had a great group. But there's a lot of guys out there that can run and catch. And, linemen and defensive backs, those are really the hard ones to find. Quarterbacks, I mean, those are hard ones to find. So, but they got talent on that team. They're capable of coming in here and beating us with who they got.
Kevin, let me ask you this. As a coach, you're going to watch a great game tonight, Philadelphia against Orlando, at Marley's, by the way. So are you, as a coach, how do you see the game? Can you pull yourself out of the coach's role and just look at it as a spectator? Or are you going to be, in your mind, taking notes about each team, weaknesses, strengths, and also what you would do in that situation, and also note what the other coaches do in certain situations?
I'm going to enjoy watching the game. We get all those games on video, so when we get a chance to look at the coach's tapes and study it, so I'm just going to sit and enjoy watching the game and watching it like anybody else. But when it comes time to break them down, we have that video in the office to go look at and do our work by.
That's good. That way you can sort of relax and enjoy and have fun, Ed.
And what are the troops up to this weekend, Coach?
I'm sorry?
What are what's the team up to, being away for the week?
I have no idea, Ed. I mean, we give them the week off. By the CBA, we can't do anything with them during the bye week, so they got a whole week off, and some went home, some stayed here. Some guys have been coming down to the field house getting workouts in, but different guys do different things. So that I told them, I didn't care if they stayed here or left. They just need to do some active rest, stay busy, and be ready to go.
You mentioned after the Cleveland game how, this locker room is maybe as good as any locker room you've ever been around, as far as this team being ready and their mindset this late in the year, getting ready for the playoffs. What kind of differentiates maybe this team than maybe other teams you've had, or is it just everybody's just kind of bought in together and there's great chemistry? Is that the key to this team?
Yeah, these guys, they just enjoy playing together. But we got a little younger. I think we got some new energy in our locker room now. So I think these guys, we got good leadership. So all these guys have bought in, and I'm just pleased at how they approach things. In training camp, I knew we had the talent level, but I also liked their mindset. So I was pretty excited about this group. I've been pretty pleased with them all year, and they are just as talented as any team that we won a championship with.
Now, Coach, you're coming in with a 7-game win streak. The next best win streak is Philadelphia. So you're definitely coming in on the right time with the right stats and the right, well, you're peaking, let's put it that way. But let's do some predictions. Tonight, who do you predict, Philadelphia or Orlando?
I got Philly winning by 20.
Oh, really? By 20, huh? And even the visiting team by 20. And give us your analysis. How is that, how did you arrive at that?
Well, I just, matchups and some guys are missing from the game and, and all that. I just feel like they're going to pull away with it. They were getting after Orlando earlier in the season. Orlando started doing a lot of onside kicks. So I think Philly will be better prepared for that this go around, and they'll be ready to go.
Is there less of a disadvantage for teams on the East Coast to travel than maybe, say, you guys having to go to the East Coast, to play Orlando, as opposed to Philadelphia going to Orlando? I mean, because maybe the trip is a little bit shorter.
Yeah, maybe. I think so. I mean, I think that, it is. But, these guys, I don't know. I've always kind of thought all that stuff is overrated because we play at nighttime. If we played at, like, lunchtime, like college football, I think that, it would make a difference. But when you got all day to sleep in and get rested up before the game, I think, I don't really see it being a problem.
Yeah, so you predict, wow, so Philly by 20. That's, that'd be a blowout. So
Dan Rodaball's been,
you
have a quarterback like that. I mean, he was at the MVP last year. And Clint Dolezal, he's such a great coach. You coached against him twice in Arena Bowls. And it's Philadelphia just the type of team this time of the year. They're just so dialed in, focused, and, they're a tough team, I guess, when you look at them right now. I mean, they're probably,
I think Philly's the best team we've played this year, so.
Okay.
They got a lot of talent, a lot of weapons, just like Arizona does. So I see them coming out of the East. So we'll see how it plays out. But
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Plus the fact that if Orlando does happen to win, then they'd have to go through Philadelphia again, most likely in another 2 weeks. So that's that's a very difficult thing for any team to do. Beat that good of a team twice in 3 weeks.
Yeah,
there's no question. It's going to be hard for whoever it is, but I mean that's this time of year, I just think Philly, they know what time it is. They got the quarterback, they got the receivers, I think they've got the best secondary that we face. They match up well against Orlando. I think we match up well against Orlando. I mean, when we lost them early in the season, we just had some injuries. But now that we're back healthy, I like the matchup. So, you just don't ever know what's going to happen in the playoffs, So, I mean, injury here or injury there can turn a whole team's fate.
Well, Kevin, thank you so much. We're at a hard break right now. We wish you all the best. We'll see you. We'll definitely see you August 6th at Talking Stick Resort Arena. Everyone get out there and enjoy the Arizona Rattlers. Thanks a lot, Coach.
Appreciate you. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, you're more than welcome. And that was Coach Kevin Guy and General Manager, Arizona Rattlers. Support your Rattlers. We'll be right back. We're at the North Mountain Brewing Company. Come on down. Join us. 522 East Dunlap in Phoenix. We're here to 4. We're giving away prizes. We'll be right back.
NBC Sports Radio AM 1060 is KDUS Tempe Phoenix and KUPD HD2 Tempe Phoenix.
All right, and welcome back again. You're listening to Breakthrough Sports live on NBC Sports Radio, AM 1060 KDUS. We are broadcasting live from North Mountain Brewing Company. Come on down, enjoy the fun. We're here till 4. It's 522 East Dunlap Avenue in Phoenix. This is a great place. We did a lot of broadcasts here, and truly one of my favorite people of all time is Candy Bergozzo. Candy, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I love your name, by the way, Candy.
Oh, thank you.
It's sweet, and you're sweet, and but talented. You're one of the owners of this great establishment, North Mountain Brewing Company.
Yes.
You've been in business, well, I want to say about 3 years now.
Yeah, 3.5 years.
That's amazing. You know, it's not easy for restaurant types to go in the business. It's usually capital intensive, and I suspect this is.
Yes.
But you brew your own beer here.
Yes, yeah.
And you give tours too. I saw that stuff. How you did that?
Yeah, we just gave a tour for a brewer actually.
Oh, really?
In Vegas. Yeah, he wanted to check out our brewery.
That is cool. So talk about this. This great establishment. We've enjoyed, of course, coming here many times. The food is fantastic. We know that, and it's a very comfortable place. It's sort of a how would you describe it? You sort of arrange the tables in sort of community type setting,
it's,
right?
We would like to do more like a community concept.
Yeah.
So we build this long tables where anybody, regardless to the echelon of your of where you're coming from, you can actually enjoy the company of your neighbors. So we have that, and a lot of people like that because you got doctors, people that come in here talking to some of the nurses and different ones, and I was a nurse.
Yeah,
and
I remember.
So therefore, yeah.
You've had many careers.
Yeah, and I've seen a couple of doctors that work for here.
Oh,
surprisingly enough, yeah.
Do they want you back?
They didn't remember me. I remember their names, but they
really?
remember. Yeah, they come and then so with their staff. So it's just enjoying time over a beer, talking, conversation with your friends, family, coworkers, just conversation.
Yeah,
and things like that. So we wanted to do that.
If I could interject real quick, I like the openness and the comfy feeling in here. It's just, you go into a lot of places and you're walking around corners and things like that. This is wide open, but at the same time it feels comfortable.
Yes.
And I love that. And the food is great, too.
Yeah.
The food is outstanding.
And the service.
Yes.
I mean, and you got a patio out there right now. And you also have a back room, too. I've seen that, and that's... for special events? Special
events. We have meetings there. We have a bunch of librarians, parties, football, fantasy football.
Oh, really?
We get a lot of those, and they're serious about fantasy football.
Oh, I bet they
know.
Yes, we are.
Are you in fantasy football?
Yeah.
How do you do usually?
I usually get my teams in the playoffs, and then it just all depends on the... that particular year. Last year I got 4 teams in the playoffs and they all lost in the first round.
Well, my fantasies never work out.
No.
Am I talking football? Okay, but anyway, I'm not sure what I'm talking about. But you got TVs here. You got some golf going on, and car racing, I should say, which is really cool. But. So what other things do you do? You have some specials or happy hour? How does that work?
Do. Like we call Mondays, Medical Mondays. If you work in the medical industry, you get 10% on top of the happy hour.
Oh, wow.
And then Tuesday we have Teacher Tuesday. We honor teachers.
Nice.
We just love our teachers. And then they get 10% on top of happy hour. We also have Taco Tuesday with that.
Oh, yeah.
And then Wednesday we have the live music with Skunk Creek Railroad. They come out here and they play, really for free. Anybody that likes live music, classic rock, reggae, because they live in the area.
Nice.
So that's kind of cool.
That is cool.
So we get pretty busy on Wednesday. Thursday we have the Testosterone Thursday.
Now tell us about that. What is that?
If you work in military, you're retired, active. Firemen, cops, just any service, public safety in the city, you get 10% on top of happy hour.
Wow.
So,
and plus, all the women can meet all the men.
Yeah.
I guess that's a bonus. So that's Thursday. And then Friday, is there...
Friday, we have a regular happy hour, 3 to 6. We get really busy on Friday,
I bet you do.
Saturday. And then for Sunday, we have brunch from from 11 to 3 p.m. And we also have our lunch menu that we just added about a couple months ago. Those are really good also, besides our regular dinner menu.
Oh, wow. So what's on some of the lunch menus, the new items?
Yeah, the hot pastrami is really good.
Ooh,
that sounds good.
The Italian sub, those are the 2 main ones. But my favorite is the shrimp po' boy.
What is that?
It's a deep fried shrimp with our with actual Southern style sauce, and it's so good.
It's a Creole thing, Dan.
Yeah, it's a Creole thing. Oh my gosh.
How cool is
so
that?
Good. Yeah, with coleslaw, and then we make our own Asian coleslaw, just those two together, the shrimp po' boy, it's just, they did a great job. Our staff, I love it.
So how do you have such great food? Because a lot of places, it's sort of like, bar food. You go to places, but every time I've been here, it's been exceptional. So you must have a great chef, or how does that work?
Yeah, well, before we were brewers, we were home brewers for 20 years. My husband is a foodie, so anything that that we do, it's in actual, really. If I can't eat it, if he can't eat it, our family can't, we won't serve it. It's just something. You go to a place, it has to be good. Your salad has to be fresh. I have to have that. Our food has to be right on, and then it just, again, the food, where people, it always evolves. So training is required and stuff like that. So if we have new cooks, staff, our kitchen manager, hey, we got to do this. It has to be consistent. And the hardest thing is consistency. That was one of the highest, or the goals that we have to do, is the consistency. The flavor has to be there. We use real butter. Everything has to be, our wings, we cook it 3 times. We grill it.
Oh, you grill it?
We grill it, we bake it, and then when you order it, actually, we deep fry it for 5 minutes. So it's not frozen wings. We sell a lot of them. We make our own sauces. So those are just some of the stuff that we go through. We're always kind of like looking for new things, because you develop your taste buds. It's not a fixed thing. It's always, what am I mood for? Just like beer or wine, what am I mood for? It has to have that good grab and punch and very flavorful.
Nice.
So
I call that attention to detail.
Attention to
detail. Yeah, you're right.
And it's funny to listen to you talk. It's a great organization when you. A lot of times you'll go to a place, and after a while, if you become a regular, everything starts to taste the same.
Yeah.
And it's because, like I said, attention to detail gets lost. And nobody's paying attention. The more you stay on top of things, and the more you rotate and try new things and experiment and keep it fresh, that's what I like. That's why people, after a while, you stop going to a place, because you start thinking, been there, done that. And I like the fact that every time we've come here, and I've only been there a couple times, 2 or 3 times, but each time as we've tried something different, and it's just like a new experience. Greg is over here tasting while we talk.
He's our taster.
Brought some of the crab dip. He brought some of the crab dip over, and I've been kind of munching in between segments, and it's delicious.
Greg had a favorite. Was it cheese curds with something? Poutine.
Oh yeah.
That's, I think, Greg's favorite. And that's stuck with him a long time.
We sell a lot of. It's a Canadian dish, poutine, and it pairs well with the beer IPA. But it's also real lamb. We cook that one slowly for 8 hours. It's
my goodness.
Yeah, it's not something just like our shepherd's pie. Those are, we like to do slow cook.
I had that. Now she reminded me.
The shepherd's pie.
Oh, that was good.
Yeah.
Oh man.
The short rib, and then real lamb versus shepherd's pie.
I think I want to get before we leave today, I'd like to get that execution on the wings down.
On the wing, yeah.
I would love that, because I'm a big foodie too. So great to upgrade my technique a little bit.
Yeah, and we're always working for. We experiment with the wing, where when we actually make our soup, the actual soup base from boiling the wings slowly. It's just that we're trying to get that going also, but it's not ready. So when you boil the wings slowly, and then use that wings, and then you kind of bake it. Oh my gosh!
Oh man!
It melts and kind of. So we're going, just things like that. But it has to be better than because we cook a lot at home. It has to be better than home. It has to be really up to par, and that's what.
You had me at wings. But you know what, Ed? What I noticed is that you could tell the passion. How Candy talks about this. She puts her heart and soul into this, and you can tell that. Versus, and you sort of said it, versus someone that maybe not care or not paying attention. But that's, I won't even say that's a skill set. That's just a gift, a caring for people. That's how I would describe it, right?
Yeah.
That you care so much that it only top quality works.
Yeah. And we keep working towards that. Sometimes hard, we don't get recognition for working hard, but people recognize that slowly.
Yeah.
That when you're carrying up, it shows that you're not just doing because for the money. You actually do it because you believe in it. that's all you got to do, and you got to keep working on it and stuff. So.
What are your hours?
Oh, Monday through Wednesday, Monday through Wednesday, 3 p.m. to 10 p.m., and then Thursday to Sunday we open at 11, and then we close Friday, Saturday, 11 p.m., and then Sunday we close at 9. And then,
do you? Is it a full menu up till like Friday, Saturday? How late?
It's actually we close the kitchen an hour before our closing.
Oh,
so
that's pretty good.
Yeah,
then.
it's really good.
Yeah, 10 o'clock, right?
So,
yeah.
And then Sundays till 11 till 9. You said.
Yeah, 11 to 9.
And you have the brunch, though.
Yeah, we have the brunch. We get pretty busy on Sundays now.
We might have to come up and get a table for brunch.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And also I know you've had holidays, and I want to say. Was it Thanksgiving or Christmas? Yeah. Are you planning on still doing holidays?
We do some. I'm sorry. We're closed on Thanksgiving Day. It's our family thing. Christmas we're closed also, but the rest of the time we're open.
Wow.
Yeah.
But you still going to do some specials for special menus
Yeah.
during that time?
Yeah, we do because they like to do certain things. Like for 4th of July, we had some special barbecue. Pork sliders barbecue. We did that. So we try to do certain different things, and every week we have gourmet burger that changes every week.
Oh, really?
So
what is it this week?
This week we had actually a salmon burger.
Oh, I
if you like salmon burger,
love salmon.
That'd probably be good.
Yeah. We had one that I really liked last week was the actual jalapeno burger.
Oh,
like you really feel like spicy, a big jalapeno. It was really, really good.
Oh my goodness!
If you like spicy.
So who comes up with this?
The kitchen manager,
They
Clayton.
gotta be good.
Yeah.
Wow.
Do you upgrade these? Like, do you advertise this on the website, or do you like?
Yes, we do the gourmet
each
burger
week
every. We
what
change
the
it.
feature of the week is?
Yeah.
Okay.
We just put gourmet burger, but they ask us and stuff. Yeah.
I think I might have to start keeping track.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Now you have medical Mondays, you have teacher Tuesdays. Do you have broadcaster Fridays, for example? Okay, I'm just kidding. No, I what I noticed, you are really good in marketing as well. I mean, I know you've had many careers, being a nurse, and then you were working at another big place. Remember?
Yeah, for marketing. Yeah,
and you really have that touch.
Yeah, I love the marketing side. That was my first degree, close to psychology. It's just everyone's so really into what they're doing.
Yeah.
And stuff. Especially they love the products and stuff. So, and you believe not because you're selling it for the money, you're selling it because you really truly believe, in that product and you wanted to excel. It's just kind of cool. It's a lot of psychology. Yeah.
And the one thing, Ed, we have not talked about is the one thing that we should talk about because it's North Mountain Brewing Company. Talk about the beer.
Yes.
Yeah. So tell us, educate us a little bit. What's some of the fan favorites?
Right now, we just brought back. We tapped the Purple Saurus half. It's a Hefeweizen, and it was very popular last year. You could only get it here. So we also have is what we call a pale ale that we just tapped the Glory whole hop pale ale. We use whole hops. Actually, it's a mosaic hops. So if you like a blueberry mango bubblegum kind of.
Really?
Yeah, it's really good. It's so drinkable that you could have easily one or two.
Do you have someone who's like the mad scientist who sits around and comes up with concoctions, or is it all a formula? Or
no, actually, my husband he loves. He has like over 500 recipes that he wants to do, and the hardest thing is to try to keep it consistency again. Because so many people, hey, when are you guys bringing back Purple Saurus? When are you going to brew this beer again and that beer? So, we can only brew so much.
Sure.
So we're trying to establish our normal beer line now.
Okay.
So we have like 4 or 5 where it's becoming signature.
Oh,
but,
nice.
Yeah, because they're so popular. Like the Belay IPA, we ran out of that one for almost 2 months because we could not get the hops. It's hard for a small brewery to get hops. So we had to
competing against the larger.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that we only had 2 batches left, so we wanted to actually kind of, let it kind of linger for the rest of 7 months. But I had to call at least 9 different hop farms.
Oh my God!
And made some of the other places so we could. And we did. Luckily, there's a couple breweries back. I don't know east that. They had their hops available, so we had to buy them, grab them right away, so we could brew more of our IPA. So, but the specialty brews come out. We only brew those once a year. The Purple Sora's Hef, and then the Glory Hole Hop Ale is, just, again, that's our first one. Because the reason for that is because sometimes the hops you can get it. You could not.
Oh, my gosh. Well,
yeah.
And we do want to say it's a very special day today, and that's because...
It's our brewer's birthday. We have 2 brewers that actually have the same birthday, which is rare.
Oh, that's
Which
rare.
is rare. It's rare. They're both, it's rare. So we're trying to,
2 birthdays today.
Yeah.
But one, of course, is Robert.
Yeah, Rob's birthday. And then Cody is his birthday, too, so they get a day off today, not brewing.
Oh, wow.
And
see, he's missing out on a great interview, Robert.
I know, Rod. And then if you bring a backpack, you get a free beer, free pint of beer. So we donate the backpacks to Sunnyslope Elementary School, and one of the teachers actually brought a backpack.
Wow.
So he's really nice. He's one of our regular. Josh Scora, he's a teacher. So he lives in the area. So that's one of the things that we're doing for the community.
Is there a time limit on that, or anytime you bring a backpack?
Anytime you bring a backpack today.
Oh, just today.
Today.
So today. Come on down, North Mountain Brewing Company at 522 East Dunlap Avenue in Phoenix. We're here till 4, but you're open till 11.
Yeah.
Bring a backpack and you get a free beer.
Yes.
And you can see a live broadcast NBC Sports Radio. We're talking sports here. And just to remind everyone, we're talking to part owner Candy Fergozo of the North Mountain Brewing Company. Well, Candy, always a pleasure having you on. You're so articulate. There's some people that have this aura about them that they're very approachable. They're accommodating. You can tell they're here to make your day better. That's Candy.
Oh, thank you.
You're more than welcome. And why don't we take anything else before we take a break that you'd like
Thank you for having us here.
Oh, well, thank you. It's a great place. And let's take a quick break right now. And when we come back, we're going to talk, I think, some NFL, right?
Yeah.
Of course, Ed Smith, former NFL player, Atlanta Falcons, and training camp has started. The king of sports is the NFL, there's no doubt. Greg will jump on. I don't know if there's any hockey news. Maybe there might be. So Greg will talk about hockey. We're going to have Derek here, shortly? Maybe some baseball. Still sports to come. And, again, we are at the North Mountain Brewing Company. Come on down, 522 East Dunlap Avenue, Phoenix. We're here till 4, but they're open till 11. Come on down. We're giving away prizes. We'll be right back.
Did you miss any of AZ Sports Talk with Rock and Manuch? Then head to NBCSports1060.com/podcast for full show replays.
And welcome back again. You're listening to Breakthrough Sports live, broadcasting live, I should say, at North Mountain Brewing Company at 522 East Dunn Avenue. And I'm Dave alongside Greg and Ed Smith, former NFL player. If you don't believe me, you will see this. You're like
6'4".
6'4", and I saw you when you played. You had pictures when you were a pro player. You look tough out there, tight end. You had to battle against, some tough people.
Oh yeah. I paid my dues, man. I paid my dues.
Was it always fun? I mean, did it feel like you're in a fight, or just how it is?
Fun was on Sundays. During the week and training camp, that wasn't fun. That was work.
Oh.
The games were fun.
Yeah?
Practice was work.
I believe it. I mean, that sort of makes sense, right?
Yeah.
You got to practice, get in shape. You got to just know all the plays, instantly. How do you do that, by the way? There's so many plays. How do you learn and memorize where you should be at what time?
Well, to be honest with you, it's repetition in your mind and on the field for the most part. And the tricky thing about playing in the NFL is you could run one play. They could call a play, and you could actually have 3 or 4 different assignments or blocking techniques just for one play. and then you throw in audibles and, changes at the line and shifts and things like that. So the one thing that I would tell anybody who at that highest level, it's not so much about knowing what you're going to do at that moment, it's knowing what you might have to do at any given moment.
Oh, that's
because
a good
everything
point.
changes so much. It's not, the guys who get locked in and focused on one thing, not going to sacrifice it, not going to last long, like I said, because it's a game of adjustments, whether it be with your technique, who you're blocking, or plays as things change on the field.
I always wondered, you hear these loud stadiums. They say Kansas City is loud, Seattle's loud.
Played both of them.
Yeah, and, the quarterback, they call an audible. What if you can't hear it? I mean, what do you do?
Well, that's when you see guys, hands off the ground, leaning in to get, signals. And a lot of it's relayed down the line as well. As the quarterback makes an audible, it's kind of relayed down the line because everybody's assignments might change. And you might have different responsibilities accordingly.
Right, but what if they don't, what if it doesn't get to you?
Then that's called mass chaos.
So do you recognize how a play is set up and that you say, it's probably this one? Or?
Well, if you're on top of your playbook and on top of your assignments, you're usually thinking along, you'll get up to the line, and if you get a particular front, you've worked on it all week, where when we see this, we can't run X, Y, or Z against this look. So, like I said, if you're on top of your game, you're thinking along with the quarterback and along with the playbook as it's happening, and that's a little bit of an advantage. But if you get caught out there last minute guessing or thinking, the play and everything happens so fast, and that's why you see a lot of blow-bys as guys that are out there thinking, and you take one wrong step, and that defensive end is by you in a second, blowing your quarterback or running back up in the backfield.
Right.
So you think about how fast a football play happens. Think about between plays, there's only 40 seconds. You got to go to the huddle, get the play, you get to the line of scrimmage. Everything is transpiring in a matter of milliseconds in terms of decisions that have to be made, getting looks. As a tight end, one of the things I had to worry about was, as I came off the line of scrimmage, was it man coverage, was it zone? I might have 3 or 4 different routes to run, all according to the look that we got from the secondary. So those are all things added on to what you were doing as far as the.
So if you miss a play, what does the coach do when you go out? Get back to the.
That's when you get the phone call or the message that coach wants to talk to you on the sideline, the phone upstairs.
Really?
I had a couple of those.
That's got to be scary. Right?
It's not good. It's
not a good call.
Yeah, and if it was Vince Lombardi or Woody Hayes, you're really in trouble.
Yes,
am I right?
It's not a lot of fun.
And this is Breakthrough Sports live, North Mountain Brewing Company, 522 East Dunlap Avenue in Phoenix. Come on down. We're here till 4. They're open till 11. Great place, great food. Boy, their beer. I'm looking at some beer there. Looks like samples of a bunch of stuff. I would suggest come on down, and we'll be right back.
Twice the Rooster, twice the fun. Listen to the Sports Zoo with Dave Rooster Beerstein now on Tuesdays and Wednesdays from 6 to 8 p.m. only on NBC Sports Radio AM 1060.
And welcome back to Breakthrough Sports, broadcasting live from the North Mountain Brewing Company, 522 East Dunlap Avenue here in the Sunnyslope area. Great place, been coming here for years. Candy and Rob, great owners, and very special happy birthday to Rob, who celebrating his birthday, as well as the other brewer that works with him, also celebrating their birthday. But you know what? I got to get their name. Next time Candy comes back, well, if she's still here. If not, we'll ask someone else. But Greg Isaac, Derek Montilla, Ed Smith, and, of course, Dave's taking a little break right now. We're here until 4 o'clock. We have the prize wheel, still some nice prizes to give away, some good kids' prizes, as well as we got some movies with us, some DVDs, so some fun stuff. And we're enjoying a bunch of great beer, but our Purple Saurus Hef, pretty good stuff. So a lot of different types of great brewed beer here. Amazing. I mean, any brewery you would expect it, but this one's always been one of my favorites. So
it's got a lot of good good beers, and like I was just recommending to Dave off air, I like to come to a place like this and get a flight because you can try a small amount of beer and kind of sample their menu and see what you really like. So
it's perfect.
They do a lot of good things here, though.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, love it over here. And again, Sunnyslope area, so 522 East Dunlap Avenue. If you're on Dunlap, you just got to look closely and don't miss your turn in. But it's a great place, and so. We'll continue some NFL talk. I know you guys were talking Cards Camp and some other stuff going on. I can't believe it's already, that time with training camp and everything. But Derek and Ed, hit into that a little bit here.
Yeah, and I was asking Ed off air. We were talking about schemes and everything that NFL teams have to prepare for each week. But, how hard is it to actually change your plays in between from week to week? Because, that seems to be something that someone that doesn't, necessarily – play the game, a fan of the team, think that it's much easier for a team to change what they're essentially what they're made of or what they're about from week to week if it's not really working or if they have a big opponent coming up next.
Believe it or not, it's mostly the good teams will run the same plays. What they do is they disguise them.
Okay.
Take for instance the New England Patriots. They're like my model of consistency. They'll run a particular play probably 10 to 15 times a game, but they run it out of 7 or 8 or 9 different looks, different packages, different motions to get into a look. Those, in an NFL game, you're talking about maybe, 50, 60 snaps, for your offense on any, on a high day, and you only have so many plays in the book. People think you come with this big, huge number of plays you run. Typically, you'll go into a week and you'll have 30, maybe 40 plays, and they're all bunched into situations. So you'll have your first down stuff, your short yardage stuff, your goal line stuff.
Does that differ from team to team?
Every team has some type of different package. Some offenses are very, very complex. And those teams usually, first off, you have to have a good leader on the field as far as your quarterback, but there's a lot of responsibility on the quarterback the bigger the playbook. The smaller the playbook, it's easier for everybody to digest, and in some instances it's easier to detect what's going on. But like I said, the biggest thing is mix it up with your looks and with your packages. You can run the same play out of a 2 tight set that you can out of a 3 wide set, for whether it's a running play or a pass play. It's just putting those people in the right places.
Right. And the look that you're giving to the defense, obviously, that they think that what you're going to run, right?
And then, a lot of it's dictated, too, by what package like you run your 2 tight end set out there, they might go with their heavy linebacker set, whereas you run your 3 wide out there, they're going to put a nickel back out there. So it's a big chess match all the way through. Now, I've been in organizations and on teams that had offensive coordinators that had no clue as to how to adjust, meaning we're going to run our stuff regardless. And you get into a game, we're run heavy this week, and next they've got 8 or 9 in the box. It's almost time to abandon ship, or at least come up with different ways to get to some of the things you want to do. Those offensive coordinators that are either stubborn or maybe not as skilled as disguising or adjusting on the run, they get eaten alive. And you can see sometimes when a defense has an offensive number, it's because everything they're doing, they're prepared for. You're not giving them anything to have to adjust to or to think about. And when a defensive player can get out there and just run to his spot and lay wood, that makes for a long day for an offensive unit.
Are you a bigger believer in coaching, or are you a bigger believer in execution? Because I know, and I'm going to mess this quote up, but I know like one of Vince Lombardi's beliefs was like the power sweep, if properly executed, will work every single time. Are you a believer that proper execution is a part of it, but the coaching and the chess match part is the bigger part?
It's actually a mix of both.
Yeah.
You have to execute. And here's the interesting thing about football that I tell people all the time. 11 guys on the field offensively. One guy missing an assignment can turn a 2-yard, an 80-yard touchdown into a 2-yard loss.
Correct.
If you don't take care of one responsibility, something as simple as cutting somebody off on the backside, and running back could have leaked out. He goes strong side, but then that backside is open and he sneaks out the backside. Boom, he's gone for 80 yards. That one lapse, you don't cut that man off on the backside, that play turns into a 2-yard loss. So that's the most interesting thing about football for me. When you watch a football play, a lot of times it looks like just chaos out there because you got everybody just mashing together.
Right.
When you watch it from like the sideline view or the end zone view, as we do when we study the film, it can look so sweet when everybody does what they're supposed to, and it's like a thing of beauty. It's a joy forever. I think that was White Man Can't Jump. I think it was.
Yes. Yes.
But I mean, seriously, when it works the way it's supposed to, it looks so good. And on the flip side, when it explodes, it can look so bad.
As I'm laughing now, but as you were speaking and he was talking about people missing assignments and one person blowing their assignment, I was washed over with rage thinking about the Cardinals Super Bowl when James Harrison returned that fumble back, and you could tell like there were so many times where it was, I'm not going to name names, but certain players getting in Larry Fitzgerald's way and causing that to happen. And like you said, that was one of those chaos moments where people just panicking and breaking down logically got in the way of their own team. Not even just the fact that it was like some sort of well-executed situation. It was just a chaotic breakdown. People panicked, and it didn't get properly contained in the Super Bowl.
It comes down to a matter of a couple
scored.
feet or an inch in some instances. If he gets a finger into the back of a jersey,
slows him down, grabs a foot, trips him a little bit, right?
And that's what it comes down to. And the thing is, everything is moving so fast out there,
right,
that you forget that it does really come down to inches and centimeters sometimes.
Yeah. Well, the Cardinals are favored heavily to do well this season. They're favored heavily to I don't think they're favored to go to the Super Bowl, but they're definitely contenders for it. What would you, as a player, what would your mindset be? Is it hard to get away from the hype and not think that your team is as good as people are saying that it is, and just concentrate on the one game at a time?
The one thing that the Cardinals have definitely in their advantage is Coach Bruce Arians.
Okay.
I watched that special on him on HBO, The Real Sports.
Yeah.
And to get his personality and kind of learn more about him, I don't think there's any way he's going to let these guys come in here thinking we're going to believe the hype that's out there. I think they're going to work hard. They're going to set some goals. I think, in some instances, say if this was the Cowboys getting this type of hype, you could almost imagine they would come out and lay a big egg just because it starts at the top.
Too much.
Too much. Jerry Jones, they would be having parade. They would already be planning their parade if they were in Dallas.
Right.
Whereas here with Arians' work mentality, we haven't proven anything yet. We still have a long way to go. I think that's going to be, and then you got some great veterans on this staff with Larry Fitzgerald, players, this runs, you got a lot of young talent out there. So I think they're really setting themselves up. Obviously, you have to put all the work in. Here we're in July. We'll be talking about them all the way through to January and into February, hopefully, for the Super Bowl. But this is a situation where you couldn't, in my opinion, be sitting in a better spot.
Yeah.
They've earned their stripes year by year, taking steps forward. Now it's just a matter of let's take that next step.
Right. And Arians is a huge part of the culture change here. The Cardinals were considered big-time losers, despite the fact that they still haven't won anything. They had the Super Bowl appearance prior to Arians coming here, but Arians, just the way he's coached and the way that the players have responded and the success that they've had, even during the regular season playoffs, even though they haven't made that step, like you said, even though they haven't reached the mountaintop yet, you still feel like it's a succession of getting better and better each year. One thing I like is the fact that players want to come here now, and that's something that, again, people underestimate with, bringing in free agents, bringing in guys. Guys are willing to take a pay cut to come here and play with Bruce Arians because they believe so strongly in, A, him as a coach, and B, the success of this team. So I find that to be a really interesting thing because the Cardinals don't have this storied heritage, Like even something like, the New York Jets, they could still get people on that, the feels, and they could still get them on the fact that they want to come to New York City and be part of the big time, even though the Jets haven't been successful, as of late. But they still, it fascinates me that the Cardinals have had that change. And, I mean, Bruce Arians is the main core of that. But
I would absolutely love to play for him.
Yeah.
He's a guy that would have, it would have been so much fun. I see some of the clips from, how they run their practices and, his whole mentality is just, he's a guy that if you go out there and work hard for him, he's going to reward you as well as, make you try to achieve the most, the most that you can. So he's one of those guys, I think he's really good at what he does.
I hate that he's right. I would go play for Bruce Arians. I don't want to get hit by anybody, and I'd go be on special teams or something ridiculous for that, just to be part of that.
I wouldn't go that far. I don't forget. I don't miss those days.
Yeah, no kidding, man. But it's interesting, and it'll be interesting to see what they do. I think that they've already had a chance to be close. I think that they're hungry in that aspect. I think that they were humbled by the loss to the Panthers. I think that was, a big thing for this team. They went against somebody that, slaughtered them. It wasn't even a close game. It's not like, man, if we would have done that one thing right, So it's going to be interesting to see the progress that they've had, and the free agents that they brought in. Honestly, have brought a lot of interest to me because I feel like they've done a lot to bring in veteran presence, and they've done a lot to bring in speed and talented players. And I mean, again, they were already a really talented team last season. We've seen some of the better teams from last year take a step back, lose a couple of guys here or there. So it'll be interesting to see how it all evens
And it's
up.
all about staying healthy, too.
Right, correct.
Players like Tyron, hopefully he's, gets through this season unscathed. But, you said something really interesting. I like the fact that how they got beat to finish the season off last year. A lot of fans will look back on that and think, oh, my God, that was horrific. In a sense, it might have been the best thing that happened to them in terms of if they've lost that game by 3 points, that's one thing. The way they got simply dismantled might work to an advantage to show them how much they still have to improve and take next steps to get to where they want to go. So 'cause that was a punch in the mouth. That was a real smackdown.
Well, and it's on both sides of the ball, so it's not like you could say defensively they dropped the ball and offense, couldn't pick it up. No, both sides dropped the ball, and overall it was embarrassing, and it's the kind of thing that Bruce Arians is the perfect.
He can build on that.
He's the perfect guy to build on that. He's the perfect mentor to use that against them, both in a positive way and in a negative way when they start getting too big-headed about, success that they might have this
Believe
season.
me, that tape is somewhere ready to be pulled out.
Oh, at all times.
Oh, the second
he's got it. He's got it on a button. Yeah. There's like a button and like a floating projector that just
can. Big and bad. I got you. Let me show you something real quick.
Oh man, well, very exciting time of year because we kind of get to that time over here where. Sure, hockey and basketball are at a dead time in a way with the sense of, free agency has been going on a while, so most of the big names are gone, so you don't really hear much. But, with baseball, you get the trade deadline coming up here in a couple days. Then, as you said, with NFL camps opening up, and, before you know it, we'll be to that point in October where, you have the World Series, but you have NHL, NBA starting, NFL will be, long started by then.
Right.
And
they've done such
a great time.
They've done such a good job with the NFL season. Let's be honest. Yeah. I mean, everybody talks about Roger Goodell and all the bad he's done, right? But honestly, the one thing that the NFL has become in the time that he's become the commissioner is it's become a money-making machine.
Indeed.
Like it never was before. And I know that they have a lot of negative things going against them, but their ability to stretch out their offseason into like a full season of interest when it's so long, like really when you think about it, it's the longest offseason of any sport.
Yeah.
And yet they are able to maintain your interest like no other sport because they make everything, regardless of how big or small or stupid it is, they make it into a big event. So
they basically rob baseball of any
they
type
do.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the NBA playoffs extend, obviously, and then, baseball has such a small window now because we're already talking football, and
correct.
I guess we'll revisit baseball when we get closer to October.
Right.
That's kind
of
the mentality.
It's like the end of June through the end of July is the baseball this exclusive season, but that's on baseball. Let's be honest, baseball is boring, and baseball has made itself that way. There's been lots of things about the NFL that I've said that make the NFL stuffy, and luckily for the NFL, they're popular enough, and it's an exciting enough sport that, when you you can't put a marker in your, shoe and sign the ball afterwards out of it, it still isn't that bad. But like baseball needs all the markers in the shoes, autographing stuff that they could get. The All-Star game was a perfect example of that. I mean, I love the home run derby. I loved the interaction between the players. I love the All-Star game itself was a joke. There was no joking around. There was no horseplay. The crowd wasn't into it. The game was over early on, and just
all the
was
runs
kind of
were scored early.
Right.
And it was just pretty much a shutdown.
The defensive shutdown from that point forward. So for me, it was an example of how boring and stuffy baseball has become. I mean, we used to have guys going in and do commentary right after they were done batting. We used to it used to be a fun thing. I mean, and now you just don't have that anymore. It's taken too seriously. The amount
you don't
of
have the
pressure
personalities anymore either. Honestly, I couldn't name, if you gave me a roster and said, okay, name 5 guys on this team, I couldn't run down a roster right now for you.
Do you feel like sports in general, because I was going to bring that up listening to Real Hockey Talk coming in, there's a problem with stars in hockey. When you talk to hockey fans, they know them. They know their guys, especially on their teams. They're shocked that you don't know them. Coyotes fans are a perfect example. If you don't know certain players, they're shocked about that. But that's only because in the small world that you're in, that's somebody you know. But they haven't exposed it to like the general world. Like there isn't those fun commercials anymore where it's a joke and there's kind of some comedy going on, and they're doing that, but they're also doing it to introduce the players to the world. And I was wondering, do you feel like sports teams now want the sports team itself to be bigger than the individual players? Because I don't even feel like, with the exception of basketball, I don't feel like football even does a great job anymore at really highlighting their players, but because of fantasy football and other aspects, that happens. I mean, football is a more individual sport in some aspects, so it's easier to stand out as a star and make yourself into a star. But like even the top goal scorer in hockey, people don't know his name and who he is, and baseball is the same way. Your home run leaders and your RBI leaders and, half of the Cubs roster people don't know. And, it's just one of those senses where you maybe locally they might do some advertisements and some things with them, but it just doesn't feel like players are made into the superstars that they were when I was a kid.
Doesn't it feel like it's more of the haves and have-nots now? And in terms of, it almost feels like everybody's out for themselves, meaning, you got your Peyton Mannings and people that market themselves. It's all about individual marketing now, rather than the league helping them make stars.
Yes.
It's, you got your select few, and pick your league, whether it's MLB, NFL, NBA, whatever it is, a select few are targeted to be like the face, but for the most part, everybody's out there for their own deal. Everybody wants their own shoe, their own commercial, and it's not about the betterment of the game, uplifting the game. It's more about
themselves.
Individual.
Yeah.
So, back when we were younger, it was all about the sport.
Right.
It didn't matter who was on the commercial. We'd see guys out there, and it was all about promoting baseball, promoting certain things.
But you're right, though. The sport itself did something where they did a commercial, and they had like 8 of their top stars from different teams in the commercial interacting with each other.
Remember, what was it? Chicks dig the long ball.
Those
type of things.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
And it was so.
A lot of the stuff ESPN did in like the late '90s and stuff was a big success, at least as far as being comedic and introducing you got to a lot of guys. Like I know that's where I figured out who Ovechkin was because of his Sports Center commercial. It just and like I'm a product of the '80s, so I'm susceptible to advertising in a big way. A lot of the stars that I came to know and love, like Bo Jackson was because of the Bo commercials, Bo knows, and then but it's not to mean that it still didn't expose me to that person. And then I was like, oh my God, this guy's so awesome, and I love baseball, and he plays football too. Oh my God, and like just everything fantastic about him. But as a kid, I would have never been interested in checking him out had it not been for a catchy commercial that they threw on there. And like that was definitely more of an individual scenario. But I do remember as a kid being more exposed to like the players across the board as a team and like different players from different teams and, just a lot more marketing where, probably was the NBA or the NFL forcing them to do it. But still, it was getting their face out there. With the amount of money these
guys are making nowadays, you can't force them. Everybody has their own brand. And these guys aren't going to be forced to do anything now.
Right.
But what it does, it affects the overall market because we don't, like I said, we don't get it. We don't get that personal touch from anybody out there nowadays. It's all about what they're focused on and what they're trying to sell us. Instead of selling us the game or pushing the game at us, it's about their individual products or
that makes a lot of sense because I agree. I mean, we've seen that more with the commercials where you're showing the team, a lot of stuff on that. which, yes, they're team sports, and that's what it's about, is the team. And, you want your fans and new fans to be fans of the team. However, like you guys said, if you're not, you also want to get to know some of these players and whatnot. So if you only know a handful of guys on there, it's, one thing. But especially for kids when, like with you and Bo Jackson, when you just see, a potential hero on there. Because, athletes, the kids, they look up to them a lot. And so if you see that athlete, on your team there and you get to know him and stuff like that, I think it just really helps. And, the comedy they used to have was great with some of the, even with the Coyotes, they used to have Pierre, the little, I forgot what he was. He was like a little puppet that spoke French.
I remember that.
That's hilarious. It's good stuff. And, now it's really strict, like join the pack. And it's good. I mean, it gets fans fired up. Don't get me wrong, but
it's hard
a
to
little
be fired.
lightheartedness.
Yeah, and
would be good.
It's also hard to be fired up when you don't know who the stars are. I mean, you're going to have your dedicated fans that are going to watch no matter what, and they're going to be there no matter what. Your season ticket holders of NFL and whatever. Then you're going to have guys like me that are fantasy football-aholics, and I'm going to be like, I can tell you every single player on every single team. But then there's going to be the rest of the people that like to watch football casually, don't have really a lot of interest in playing fantasy football or whatever. And, it's hard to get into any sport when you don't really know, like, who the best players are out there and whatever. Yeah. They do a good job, like, on the broadcast of doing it, I think, with football. I think football isolates a lot of players individually during the broadcast, tells you, like, how they're doing. They're leading the league in this or whatever. I think other games like hockey is a little too fast for that sometimes, so you don't really get that information, or it's a little bit less – it's not as easy to process because they're telling you in, like, a quick, blurb versus, having, like, the slick graphics that the NFL will put with, like, the guy rotating and then him turning into a computer diagram of himself and, all that kind of stuff. But I don't know. I just think that that's lacking. I think that it's lacking in a lot of sports. I think baseball, which is one of the sports that needs it the least because they do a good job with having the facial recognition and everything. Yeah. I just think baseball's getting boring. I think baseball just needs
slow-paced and boring.
And I mean, I know what they're doing. I know they're trying to do things to make the game faster and all of that. I get that. I just feel like baseball is to a point where it's very aggressive unnecessarily. They don't crack down enough on these guys, fighting and retaliating and all of this stuff. You can't bat flip. You can't flip your bat. But it's one of the most fun things in the sport. Yet you're not allowed to do it. Not against the rules, just because next time your pitcher gets up, their pitcher's going to throw 99 miles an hour at that pitcher's head. Or you can't bat flip because you're going to get beamed the next time. Or the guy's going to charge you before you get to first base because you just hit it a home run. Like, that kind of stuff is so asinine to me. It's so ridiculous, and that's the allowance of that has allowed baseball to be what it is. I mean, other sports fight, don't get me wrong. I mean, I don't even want hockey to do anything to stop their fighting, but baseball, I think sometimes it seems the most barbaric because it seems the most unnecessary sometimes, and you're also putting guys at risk at the most with the way that pitchers are throwing at guys intentionally, and some guys running out at a pitcher holding a stick, that he can swing and hit him in the head with. Like, all of that just seems a little too much for me, but it also makes it kind of boring for people to watch. People don't really like that anymore. I think people are kind of over that,
They just want to see action on the field,
exactly.
Not necessarily all the antics that go with it.
Right,
yeah.
Exactly.
I have my fair share of brawls through my 9 years of minor league baseball, and believe me when I tell you, 99% of the guys out there do not want to, be out there throwing punches.
Right.
And
right.
The majority of the reasons that teams come to blows are BS as well. Like you said, the unwritten rules, somebody got showed up, because somebody stood and watched a home run too long.
Pimped it, and it's like, that was one of the fun things to see happen in the game.
I'll tell you when I used to really be ticked off, when I was the dude that took the repercussion for the guy in front of me who did something.
Yeah.
When I was not at fault for anything, but this dude wanted to, because, and there was a couple of, and over 1,000 games, I never charged him out, was never ejected from a game.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest with you, there were a couple times where I was so close.
Was there ever a time where you went back to the dugout and looked at the guy that hit before you and was like,
oh, yeah, no.
That's because of you.
Oh, yeah, there were some conversations with me and teammates, oh, yeah.
That happened because of you.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing that's ridiculous. Everything about that is ridiculous, because you know what? If you hit a ball and you hit a home run, you should be allowed to admire it briefly.
I'll be honest with you, there were times when a dude would be touching home plate after admiring his, shot.
Yeah.
And as I'm shaking his hand, I'm like, look, man.
You're all, why'd you do that?
Yeah.
Why'd you have to do that?
If I pay for this, you're going to pay for it later.
Well, we're broadcasting here from the North Mountain Brewing Company, 522 East Dunlap Avenue in Phoenix, the Sunnyslope area. When we come back, we'll talk a little baseball. A big trade between the San Diego Padres and Atlanta Braves appears to be brewing. We probably will have that completed here maybe before the end of the show.
Weird. You'd think that would be a fire sale between those two teams.
Yeah, but
what are they doing interacting with each other?
Yeah, well, Matt Kemp appears to be on the move, so we'll talk a little bit about that. When we come back, Breakthrough Sports right here on NBC Sports Radio, AM 1060.
NBC Sports Radio AM 1060 is KDUS Tempe Phoenix and KUPD HD2 Tempe Phoenix.
And welcome back to Breakthrough Sports right here on NBC Sports Radio AM 1060. Greg Isaac alongside Derek Montilla. Of course, the great Ed Smith. Dave is somewhere. He disappeared.
He's off causing trouble somewhere.
Yeah.
I see him over there. He's on the other side of the restaurant talking on his phone, doing some good stuff there. And so, we were talking about a lot of marketing between sports, things like that. We'll get into some baseball with some big stuff about to be brewing right now. And speaking of that, North Mountain Brewing Company here, 522 East Dunlap. Even if you can't make it down, while we're here, we're here another hour until 4. If you've never been here before, you got to try it. Even if you're not a fan of beer,
great
food. It's amazing.
Great food. The wings we're having are amazing.
I'll try that in a little bit. But
Greg's missed out on the wings.
Yeah, I better jump on that quick. But the poutine is outstanding, and just everything. Everything's unique. Even the chicken sandwich is my favorite chicken sandwich. There's a special type of like a bacon-flavored jelly that's spread on it. It sounds interesting, but then when you have it, it's even better. It's just amazing. So
you had me at bacon.
Yeah, bacon's the key word. I mean, that would have anyone right now. In fact, let's stop this and we'll go order some chicken sandwiches real quick.
Can I have a second? I just want to give a shout-out to my mom and dad who are watching comfortably in their air-conditioned house this afternoon. Hey, Mom. Hey, Pop. Hope you're enjoying the show.
Yeah, absolutely. That's Smith's parents and some great listeners today, of course, and so very exciting, fun stuff. And for the Atlanta Braves, they've been on a rebuild here, and they're about to take on someone who has some of his contract still being paid by the Los Angeles Dodgers, and they're about to give up someone who has a bunch of his contract being paid by the Los Angeles Dodgers, but the Dodgers aren't part of the trade. It appears Matt Kemp is on his way to the Atlanta Braves, or close to going to Braves, for Hector Oliveira, who you may remember the Dodgers signed, last offseason. Not this past one, but the one before. He was a hot commodity, as an international signing, but, they moved him in that big 3-team deal last year. So if it goes through, it'll be interesting. And I don't think it's official yet. I know Joel Sherman, New York Post, is saying it's close, and Keith Law with ESPN, so, it's about to go down, and it appears Atlanta has been looking for some hitters now. They've stocked up the farm system, so maybe now they're saying, okay, obviously they're not a contender this year, but in the next few years now, you've got to start going for it. They'll move into their new ballpark, and we'll see how that might work, and as long as the deal becomes official, how Matt Kemp would do over there.
A little bit of a head scratcher. We were all talking during the break that, two teams who are not in the hunt are basically swapping pieces. And the part that confuses me the most is Kemp is actually on the downslide of his career.
Correct.
That if he was a young slugger, I'd say where they're building for the future.
Yeah.
We've seen Kemp kind of on the decline over the last couple of years. Can't stay healthy for the most part. I'm not sure what Atlanta is thinking, but apparently somebody has, maybe they're some brilliant plan that we all don't know of.
Maybe, and maybe this kind of goes back to what we were talking about, the marketing in general, but Matt Kemp's a name. He's a household name in baseball, and even if he's doing bad, it's still somebody like – it reminds me of when the Diamondbacks would get somebody that was over the hill, but there's still that excitement level because you're like, hey, you never know. He could have his great resurgence here. And it's like, it's baseball. It doesn't work that way. But, the thing about the Atlanta Braves is they're going to be rebuilding for a number of years.
Yeah.
They're not going to be competitive next year or possibly even the year after that. So at this point, they have the new ballpark, and they're going to need to put people in it. And, bringing in a couple of names, even if it's not going to make them super competitive, is at least going to bring in, the casual fans and, fans here and there. I think that's more important because right now, like a couple of teams, they're putting out a roster with very little recognizable, few recognizable names on it, if any at all. So, the Diamondbacks have at least that. They have that ability to have, some big names on their roster right now, and they're going to be there for a couple of years if the Diamondbacks don't trade them away. So the Diamondbacks can rebuild with still having that appeal of, the Paul Goldschmidt and Zach Greinke and, even A.J. Pollock and some of these other guys that have become names while being on the team as well. But I think that the Braves definitely lack that, and that's the one thing I can think of that they're doing with this deal. Because other than that, I'm with you, Ed. I don't really understand the point of bringing in someone at Kemp's point in his career.
Yeah, no, it is interesting. I mean, Kemp does have 24 home runs, but like you said, still on the downside of the overall game because defensively he's a liability now. Batting average 262, it's all right, but on base under 3. So
could it be his veteran leadership?
The leadership and maybe a little power, perhaps. I mean, I've always heard different things about Kemp in terms of a clubhouse guy.
Right.
Some say very good leader. Others have said sometimes he's a little moody, maybe, and not the best influence on some of the young guys. So it's interesting. Now, I know with Oliveira, his suspension ends August 1st. His domestic violence, so he's been suspended. So Atlanta wanted to get rid of him. I think they realize it's just not just with that, but he was underperforming and everything. So I know no one's probably really willing to take him unless they take back a player, that could be risky and have a big contract. Now Kemp only has 3 years left, so it will be interesting to see, but you have him kind of fill in. I did hear, though, that Atlanta was also interested in maybe bringing back Brian McCann from the Yankees because the Yankees are testing the water, and there's some other hitters that Atlanta's been in on. So, I'm not quite sure what they're really doing. I mean, if they were able to acquire a young guy that's just coming into his prime, a good young hitter with all the pitchers they've been able to stockpile in their farm system, maybe a guy that, could help now and then 3-4 years down the line when they really become a contender, that's one thing. But, this is a bit of that head scratcher. You never know.
He could be a chip. They might be planning to move.
It's just I don't know how they'll I'm just surprised San Diego was able to move Kemp.
Yes.
That's the thing. But that would make sense normally. I mean, maybe they think, he'll resurge a little. I mean, again, 24 home runs. His power is back. It's just, when we saw that MVP caliber Kemp years ago, where he almost was a 40-40 guy, had 39 home runs, 40 stolen bases, it was close. Then when he came back from injury, the year before his last year with the Dodgers, I believe, he looked great the last month of the season when he was back. But
his accuracy with his champagne bottle was fantastic. He sprayed me right in the face when they were celebrating.
That was you
in the Diamondback. Yes, first of all, I'm going to say this: if you're a reporter, don't ever become friends with pretty girl reporters. Because if you do, and you're in a champagne celebration, you'll find yourself standing by them, and inevitably you'll become a target, because that's all that really players are looking for is people that are apparently some reporter that they know, or a pretty girl to spray with champagne, and I was standing entirely too close to them. So thanks to Matt Kemp for getting me right in the face with that. I'm glad I didn't see them also go into the pool later, but I know he was a big proponent of that. He was one of the troublemakers that was behind
led them in there.
Oh,
And Kemp looks like on the move again, so probably be announced, I'm sure, shortly. But earlier today, the Nationals, a pretty big move with the Pirates. I know, Derek, you've been talking about last week really how the Nationals, really need that bullpen help. Obviously, Papelbon, when he's not beating up Bryce Harper, he's been struggling a bit now. But, getting Milanka from the Pirates, and it's interesting because the Pirates probably aren't going to make the playoffs this year, even though they're over 500 and they have good pieces. It's just been a down year for them in that division, obviously, with the Cubs, and then wild card, all these teams, battling for the top two, Cardinals and the Dodgers. Now if the Dodgers overtake the Giants will be in there. So it's a tough situation, but, they give up some prospects, of course. But with Milanka, they missed out on Chapman going to the Cubs. And, some other guys out there, like Wade Davis might be out there, but they still get an elite-level type of reliever for the back end of the bullpen. How much could this help the Nationals now, kind of shorten these games up for their starting rotation?
I honestly think because, again, like we discussed last week, they're one of those teams that, despite the fact that they are actually still very good, they're not considered like they were last season. Just a season ago, they were World Series contenders at the beginning of the season, and now it's not really a name that you hear a lot of people mention or bring up when they talk about contenders. But the Nationals are definitely they're definitely making moves, and they're not necessarily flashy moves. I think they're the kind of moves that are just going to help them get better. And I see them as being a team that's hungry for the mistakes that they've made in the past and the opportunities that they've missed. And I wouldn't be surprised to see them make a lot of noise in the playoffs.
Yeah, no, definitely. A move like that, could help with that, getting that bullpen, as we see with, Kansas City, having that success. And you really want to shore things up there. And, the Diamondbacks making a little movement today with Josh Colmenter being designated for assignment. So, his time with the team likely will come to an end. And for so many years,
End of an era.
Very well, he was in the starting rotation. Then when he moved into long relief, he was effective for a while. But it looks Daniel Hudson. I know they're saying trade might be close, but man, he is. Why is he struggling so much? Derek first, and Ed, if you want to chime in, his stuff is still good, but his what is it, command? Is it, maybe his stuff, fastball's a little slower? Has he lost velocity?
He has lost some velocity, but I don't really think that's it. I don't really know what it is. I think that
could be confidence.
It's confidence. That could be a big part of the entire rotations problem.
Sure, yeah.
I think that I'm to a point now where I'm pretty okay with blaming coaching, both pitching, coaching, and Chip Hale. For the lack of success with this team. I saw some things during the game yesterday against the Dodgers that just made you scratch your head. And, it's basic, and sometimes it's not real, it's simple sacrifice bunts and things like that in order to get runs and keep the score increasing. And
yeah. Well,
you didn't see it yesterday,
Well, they did have, in the seventh inning, it was their best inning of the year and also one of their worst innings of the year. 7 runs, you take a 7-3 lead, you got to be excited. And then, of course, Dodgers come back and tie it and then win 9-7. But, it's just
heartbreaking.
Weird. How that's gone. The pieces are there. Obviously Goldschmidt had a big game, and
it's like a snowball rolling down the hill.
It is.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
In a season like this, it starts off bad, it gets worse, and you expect at some point it's going to get better, and it just never does.
Yeah.
And that's what they're kind of muddled in right now. And you watch, you have certain players having a little bit of success. And one of the things that's taken for granted is how hard it is for anybody to be successful in the middle of all the failure that's going on. So, you give credit to a Greinke or a Goldschmidt when they can actually make a positive season out of something that just seems like, because it's like you're snake bitten. And a lot of success comes with just having a good attitude, even coming to the ballpark to start the day off.
Yeah.
But after you lose a game like you did last night, it is so hard to turn around and come back the next day and with a smile on your face and let's make this, So, I feel for some of the guys struggling through this long season. A lot of guys have already got plans for late September, October put together because they know they're not going anywhere after this season. But we talk between the breaks. As I feel sorry for the fans having to go out and watch this sometime because it can be so frustrating.
Well, especially at home here.
Oh yeah.
The Diamondbacks have been really bad at home. Everybody knows that. But that becomes a question as to A, why would I go watch them when they barely win at home, and B, they're not even contending.
Yeah.
It's the combination of the two. It would make it really hard for a lot of people.
That's when your marketing team has to have a whole lot of great promotions to get people out to the ballpark.
Start calling some of those minor league teams, getting ideas, The
rat races on the field.
Fresno Grizzlies are great at that. They become the Fresno Tacos on Tuesday. The other day they were what were they? They were the Three Amigos. That was another great thing. But yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, that's another thing too, is going back to what we were saying about baseball not being as fun. I mean, I definitely think teams that aren't doing good need more of that. There needs to be. It's fun to go out to the ballpark, but sometimes you need a little motivation if you want, to sell out. And sometimes it's as easy as a free, ridiculous T-shirt. It's not that hard to do.
And not charging people $15 for a beer or a hot dog too.
That helps. I'll give the Diamondbacks that though. They're pretty good. They offer a lot of variety, and I know when I take my daughter there, I don't spend a ton of money because my daughter just wants, a popcorn. She doesn't need the $15 bag of popcorn, and they have good options for that kind of stuff and good, value hot dogs and such.
I want to say something too. I don't want to make it seem like we're bashing on the Diamondbacks or anything like that, because it's our local team here. Mm-hmm. We want to support it. We want them to be good so people will go to the stadium, watch them. We want to bring a World Series here one day, or again, I should say.
Absolutely.
So it's not like it's hard to be positive when things are so negative.
It is.
So, I just want to throw that out there. I don't want people to think that, we're all down on them.
It's hard at this point. Yeah. It's kind of like sometimes where you go to listen to Chip Hale after the game. You can just tell he's out of answers.
Defeated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's defeated and he's out of answers. And, I think we even feel that way when we're talking about the team. I'm surprised that there haven't been more moves. I'm surprised they haven't traded more pieces away at this point. And it's good that they haven't, because I think it shows that they still believe internally, whether it's right or wrong, that the core of this team is put together to win. Yeah. They just weren't successful with it this season. I wouldn't be surprised to see a couple of guys like Delgado or Hudson moved. But I think especially with the way a lot of guys have been pitching, I think the thing that people forget is it's like trying to sell something on eBay when it's all dirty and corroded and gross and not working, You almost want to wait a little while, maybe we could get some CLR and clean it up a little bit, make it look a little nicer before we sell it off.
Yeah.
And, it's hard now. The trading deadline's coming up, and, especially like Huddy, I don't really have an answer for it, and Huddy's like one of the best people on the team, so you really root for a guy like that. You really do, and you want to see him after what he's been through. The 2 Tommy John surgeries and everything, you want to see him succeed. So it's really hard, and I don't know. I think it's kind of interesting because I don't mind seeing people traded from this team based on the fact I've seen so many players go off and have success elsewhere. That's what makes me start questioning the coaching. Yeah. When pitchers and players leave this team, you have someone like Trumbo go have the success he's had, or even Cahill. Even though a lot of Cubs fans still weren't big fans of his, he still had more success in Chicago than he had here. There was, it's hard to see sometimes. I know that the change of environment and blah blah blah, all of that, but I'm dismissing that now. I'm starting to really think that a lot of it might be that internal culture we spoke about last week, and that fearfulness of management because they're so intimidating and they're such MLB legends. And I think that bad coaching is a part of it, too.
Well, I've asked before, too, to other people, who have been inside the loop, who is the leader on the team? What is the personality of the team? What is their makeup? And I've never gotten an answer, like a definitive answer. Nobody's
because
ever
people
said,
don't know.
Because they don't know.
They don't know. Like in the clubhouse after a game, we don't get to see, right? Because we're not in there. We're not allowed to be in there when they have their real meeting, right? But what you see is just – it's like the locker room at like a gym.
Yeah.
You see a bunch of guys turned inwards. You see them getting ready as fast as they can, and you see them walking out. Like, I'll say at least even in the years when I started, you had more friendship and more, camaraderie in the clubhouse than what you see now. Now, again, I'm not saying people aren't friends. I'm not saying whatever. I know this team is, a lot of different pieces that have come together, and there's a lot of young guys up. There's a lot of different scenario there. But, back in the day of seeing, like, Chris Young and Justin Upton, say their little piece and then want to get over with it fast because they want to have a conversation together and they want to walk out together. It was different then. And I don't know. I mean, I think sometimes part of it is, like, guys like Paul Goldschmidt is a very soft-spoken, quiet guy.
Quiet leader.
I've heard him. I've heard him through a door in meetings be a different person. So I do know that he has the qualities to be a leader. I'm also aware that, he has a hard time, I think, like a lot of players do, of accepting that role just based on who he is as a person.
Yeah.
Because you almost have to be a little egotistical to be a leader, don't you think? Like,
yeah, you definitely do.
Because you almost have to think that you're better than everybody in that room a little bit to be a leader. And that's why they always say there's leaders and followers, because so many of us that, like myself, I'm one of those people. Like a lot of people, I'm not a leader just simply because I don't really think I'm better than other people, so I don't see that definitive, like, here, let me step up and take charge in this situation. Yeah. So, and I think a lot of players are like that. I mean, they're team-minded, and it's hard to be
Goldie's like a leader by example,
Correct.
Which is good.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
But in certain situations, you need somebody to walk in that clubhouse and literally kick a door in and say, this is where we're going. If you're with me, let's go. If you're not, get the heck off the boat. And in other instances as well.
And he's old enough for that. He's seasoned enough now at this point to be that guy.
But that's just not him.
That's not him, right.
And another element I see missing, and you know, if you've ever been around a team, especially a baseball team, such a long season, you got to have somebody who's going to break it up every now and then with a good practical choke, with lightning. And every good team I was on, whether it be football, basketball, baseball, we always had that character. I don't see a character in that Diamondbacks clubhouse.
I saw one. He was just DFA'd today. It was Josh Goldminter.
Okay.
You know, it was the guy, but
was the guy.
It wasn't exactly the kind of, he was teaching them about fission.
Okay.
And he was teaching them about quantum physics and such.
Yeah.
Little different tone in the locker room, But I was going to ask, that's a good point. I was going to ask you, though, because it always seems like the teams that are doing well are having fun.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
But is it a reflection of the fact that they're doing well that they're having fun, or is it the other way around?
It's the makeup of the team.
Okay.
It's winning breeds fun, obviously.
Right.
But it all starts with a good nucleus and guys, because everybody starts the season 0-0.
Sure.
What happens is, you get off on a nice roll, you start, and it becomes, like I said, you start to get to a point where you enjoy going to. There were teams where I would rather be at the ballpark than at my apartment because I knew all the fellas was there. As soon as I got there, it was time to get on for the day. We'd get our fun on, batting practice, get the battle, hopefully have a good game. And then even afterwards, we're going to go grab something somewhere as a group, especially on the road. Those teams that it was a job or you didn't really have a camaraderie. Man, I'm looking at my watch thinking I don't have to be to the park till 2 today. I'm walking in the clubhouse at 1:59 and 59 seconds. I'm not gonna spend as little time there as I can because it's just not as enjoyable. So you got, like I said, and it's part of we don't know the exact makeup because we're not in there every day, but you can get a sense of it just from how they play on the field, how they interact with each other. It's kind of obvious.
Yeah, it definitely is that thing because you feel more comfortable. I mean, when, you're friendly with all your teammates and joking around and, like you said, doing things like that. And if they don't have that, and it adds to the fact that, like you said, Ed, you show up, last minute or want to just get out of there quick. But you build more chemistry even though it may not be on the field, still you get to know your teammates more, your family, and you just, play harder and harder for them, and, so it does add a lot like that, and hopefully there is something. Now, Greinke, even though, he's new to the team, and more of a reserved guy, however, he's not afraid to speak his mind, and so if you could have a guy like that, you have leader by example Goldschmidt, but then could maybe add some fun-loving guys and stuff. Maybe that could be, kind of a start for it. And real quick with Greinke, I pitched pain-free in a rookie ball, I believe, against the Cubs rookies. So there's some positive news.
I think the thing I've noticed is I've gone into like a series where they played the Pirates, and I went into the Pirates locker room after they won, and the Pirates were, playing music, having a good time.
You had a beer with them.
I had a beer with them. We watched UFC. We did watch UFC, but that's not a joke. But they were just it was the atmosphere that you're talking about, right? Like you saw guys getting into like a T-shirt and shorts and flip-flops and then coming over and hanging out and watching the TV with the other guys, laughing and eating together. Like it was like a house party. They're sitting there on the couch in the visitor locker room eating, with a plate in hand. And, the next night it was, or I think this previous night, the D-backs had won, and I was in their locker room, and they had music playing, but no enjoyment. It was just loud music playing and everybody getting dressed, and then there was no celebrating, there was no fun, there was no nothing. And like I said, it could happen when we're not there. They might be doing it prior. You know who this falls on, though? This falls on the GM. The GM is responsible for not just finding the talent, but also finding the personalities that kind of fit together as well. And that's not that's not the major factor, but you do have to start considering, we can put all this talent together. That's one thing. We have to find guys who gel together as well and bring more out of each other. So that's something that falls down on the GM and the manager, in terms of putting this group together. And it's going to be a tussle.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It'll be interesting to see what Dave Stewart will do this offseason. And still at the deadline, maybe there's, there will be more. I mean, like you said, Derek Crowley-Hudson and maybe some relievers on the move, but maybe nothing of significance. So who knows with that. But, yeah, Dave Stewart used to be a player agent, so, I mean, he knows a lot of these players out there. And he was Matt Kemp's agent, of course, who appears to be on the move again. Now, this is Breakthrough Sports. We're broadcasting from North Mountain Brewing Company, 522 East Dunlap Avenue here in Phoenix. And we'll be right back. NBC Sports Radio, AM 1060. We'll talk some wrestling.
Yes.
Hey, this is Brian Krebs from Sports for YouTube. Make sure to join us every Tuesday night from 8 to 9 p.m. only on NBC Sports Radio AM.
And welcome back to Breakthrough Sports right here on NBC Sports Radio AM 1060. Greg Isaac, Derek Montilla, Ed Smith, and Dave eating our wings for us.
He is. It's the worst because we just get to sit here and watch him, enjoy them.
I want 4 o'clock to come. Yeah,
he's describing to us how good they are. He's like, this one is a Thai chili.
Yeah,
his lips are.
Oh my God,
man! And half the wings are on his shirt because he has seconds later. But, so, and obviously all the great beer selections here. We try the Purple Saurus as well as many others. And so North Mountain Brewing Company, 522 East Dunlap Ave. Yes, we'll only be here till 4, another half hour or so, but come anytime, open till 11.
Great place to be.
Absolutely, great stuff.
And since he's not paying attention, I'm going to take over and talk about some wrestling.
I know,
right?
Yeah, we're excited.
He doesn't even
about
notice.
This.
Yes,
yeah.
I'm excited too. Phoenix actually hasn't been a hotbed of pro wrestling.
Sure,
I think back east and a lot of places, it's it's a lot more prevalent. But it's really nice to know there's some promoters putting together some good shows. I've seen some great local stuff, and this new promotion I'm very proud to be a part of. Actually, I am going to be the color commentator for their video on demand service. It's called PHX Wrestling. It's going to be a monthly show held here in Phoenix. It's going to be held at the Arizona Events Center, and their first event is Rise on August 19th. And a big part of that show, there is going to be a match to be a number one contender for what they want to call the King of Phoenix, or King of PHX. And we actually have one of the men wrestling in that match at Rise, Alexander Hammerstone. Alexander, thank you so much for joining us, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you guys for having me.
Oh, man. So how did you get started in this wacky world of professional wrestling? What was your start? Did you start in it by watching someone and being a fan at first, or how did you get your start?
Yeah, basically, I'm sure it's just like a lot of other kids around, being an 8-year-old kid watching the television, and just, that's the dream job. And finally, sometime...
8 is the magical age, by the way. Sorry to cut you off, but 8 is always the magical age is 8 to 10. I feel like every wrestler or fan always comes around that age.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think that's just the age where you're able to kind of comprehend what's going on.
Right.
So from that point on, I always loved it. And then finally, being late in high school, got into bodybuilding and powerlifting and some amateur wrestling. And after a while, I just pulled the trigger and decided, you know what, I think I could actually do this. And I went for it.
When did you start professional wrestling?
When I was about 19 or 20 years old.
Okay. All right. And where have you wrestled all over the United States? Where have you wrestled so far?
I've wrestled, all over the United States, all over the Southwest predominantly, but out east as well. I've gone up to Canada. I've gone down to Mexico, basically anywhere and everywhere.
Do you feel it's an exciting time now to be an independent wrestler as far as the opportunities out there? Oh, yeah, definitely. From when I started, 5 years ago to now, we've seen a huge change in wrestling. It's starting to become kind of, popularized and cool again, and especially the rise in independent wrestling. Because of the internet and because of things like, the WWE Network and all this stuff being pushed to the forefront, it puts all this pressure on the athletes to make a better product, and you're seeing an incredible level of talent even on the independent level. And the shows are just becoming better, the fans are becoming crazier, and it's just becoming a much more fun thing to be a part of. And, we've talked about it on the show. I've gotten these guys, they have a lot of respect for wrestling. They're not as big of fans of the actual product as I am, but they definitely acknowledge how much work you guys put into this and, what you have to do as an athlete to maintain the level of performance you're at and put on these matches that you put on. Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, because the days of, 1980s wrestling where it's, two big guys, taking it easy in the ring and, throwing around this phony stuff, that's long gone. With the popularity of things like UFC and things like that, we're pushed to the next level, and the athleticism involved is at an all-time high. And when people come, they know what kind of show that they're getting, and we're working hard to give them the product they could possibly get. Have you had any scary moments or any major injuries that you've had in the ring that have occurred? Yeah, it's funny. I was actually talking obviously
about
everybody
yeah.
does, but
I was actually talking about today, and that's the thing is, my list of injuries is longer than I like to admit. To be honest, right. I've had major shoulder injuries and torn ligaments in my knees and concussions and things like that. So that's there is a risk involved, and it is a very physical, very demanding thing that we're doing out there. So, it's there's the old saying, it's not ballet, and pro wrestling definitely takes its toll on the body. What's your thought on, in general, some of the more ridiculous things we've seen, or some of the criticism that people have had over wrestling? Like, there's been a lot of talk over what Matt Hardy's been doing, and there's a lot of talk over what, like, Ricochet and Will Ospreay. And there seems to be a lot of criticism where people now are taking wrestling much more seriously than they used to. But stuff like this in the past didn't really affect people as much as it does now, where people seem to almost get really bent out of shape when there's, like a fun moment that might not be super violent, or, some sort of wacky moment like we saw with Matt Hardy. Do you think wrestling fans are taking wrestling more serious now as an art, as an actual athletic product? I feel like we get a mix. Get the wrestling purists, and then we get the people who just are there to be entertained. And honestly, I'm in favor of the side that wrestling is an art, wrestling is a performance, and everybody is going to like something different. So, right. I respect all forms of wrestling. And if there's somebody who wanted to see, only, great epic masterpiece movies, and then they see a movie like, Zoolander, and they think it's completely garbage, that doesn't mean right. that movie can't be somebody else's favorite. So, right. I think wrestling's at an interesting time because there are those purist fans, but, there's the fans who appreciate every style. And I think PHX is going to be something that we push the envelope as far as the athleticism and as far as the actual competition aspect of it, but you're definitely going to have a couple guys part of the roster who are going to bring you that entertainment value as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Speaking with Alexander Hammerstone, of course, we have PHX Wrestling event there on August 19th. And so a lot of fun, a lot of excitement coming up with that. And you could follow them on Twitter at PHX Wrestling. Now, Alexander, as you guys were talking about that in terms of the art, how would you describe your style in the ring? Kind of... because you kind of see, at least from my viewpoint, different styles wrestlers have,
right.
Things along those lines. And how would you more describe yourself?
Well, I was always the type of guy, like I just said, I kind of appreciate all styles of wrestling, and that definitely shows in the way that I wrestle. I never, I have all the respect in the world for the guys who are the mat technicians and are the absolute best at that, as well as the guys who are the high flyers who are the absolute best at that. But I always wanted to take a little bit of everything. So I want to be able to, go down on the mat. I want to be able to toss guys around. I want to be able to go to the top rope. When I first got into wrestling, everybody treated me like I was this big monster, because on the independent level, there's not necessarily quite as many large guys. But as I made my way around the world, I've been put in situations where I was the smaller athlete and I was forced to adapt. So my whole approach has always been, I just want to be able to throw a little bit of everything and surprise people with athleticism, surprise people with my strength, and just be a well-rounded athlete in there.
What's been your favorite moment in the ring, favorite match or favorite moment that you've had against somebody?
Oh, wow, that's definitely a hard question.
It's hard, right?
Yeah.
It's like your favorite child. Which one's your favorite child?
It's hard to say an absolute favorite. I've had some great moments wrestling guys like Gangrel was a guy I grew up watching, and
right.
There was a time when I beat Gangrel on national television for a national title. That was a very special moment.
Is that surreal to you? Because I grew up watching Gangrel, and I could only imagine how it would be like to actually be in the ring with someone that at one point you were watching, rise up from the ground and spit blood all over themselves, and now here you are wrestling them across the ring.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's once I get in between those ropes, it's all business, and but it's almost like an after the match, you kind of sit back and reflect, and I was watching it back and kind of realizing what just took place, and that's when it hits you, though, how crazy this world of pro wrestling is, and those are while you're in the ring, sometimes you don't get to really realize how special a moment it is until after it's passed. But, I've had there's been several moments like that, and we're hoping to make a couple more with PHX Wrestling.
Oh, yeah, I'm excited for that, man. I'm excited for the Rise event. I think that PHX Wrestling has something very special going on. I think members like yourself of the roster, along with, I think there's a great mix for people that might know him. Willie Mack is a part of the Rise show. He's a little bit bigger of a name on the indie scene, and you've seen him on Lucha Underground. There's quite a few guys on there that I can't wait to see, and I think that there's a great mix of talent, like you said, that will put on a great show. And honestly, if you've never been to the Arizona Event Center as well in Mesa, to me, I've been to a lot of events here in Phoenix for pro wrestling, and it's hard to find a good one. That is one of the best shows because it's a simple venue, and it allows the guys to do a lot without putting themselves in danger. I've been to quite a few matches at places like Celebrity Theater where I've just been terrified for the safety of the performers because of the venue itself. I mean, There's even a couple of times where I've been in Reseda watching the guys at PWG do flips and almost kick the lights that are hanging from the ceiling. So I like venues like this, and it's a great show. It's going to be a great night of wrestling.
Was Ralph Macchio there in Reseda?
No, Ralph Macchio was not there. But there was somebody very close to that named Speedball.
There you go.
Who was very, very Ralph Macchio-esque. But Alexander, thank you so much for joining us, man. I look forward to seeing you do your thing. Who is your match against at Rise, and what are the ramifications of this match?
I'll be taking on Ricky Starks, and Ricky is a guy I've never crossed paths with this guy, so that's why it's going to be really interesting for me. I always love when Arizona brings in new talent that not only the fans get to see for the first time, but I get to see for the first time. So this is a guy who's been building his name all over Texas, who's been one of the fastest rising stars out there. And, with myself being one of the very top dogs in Arizona, for us to clash in my hometown is definitely going to be interesting. And this is going to be one of the first matches, like you said, to qualify for what they're calling the King of the PHX, King of Phoenix. which is going to be their champion. So it's definitely a match that I'm telling myself I have to win this. I've been working my butt off, and I know Ricky Starks is going to be no easy task, but I'm not going to let an out-of-towner beat me in my own home state, especially with that belt on the line.
Well, and are you excited that because you're local, are you excited that PHX Wrestling is putting together, I'm obviously being involved with it. I'm a big fan of what they're doing, but I feel as a wrestling fan, I feel like this is one of the best local promotions that we've had a chance to see yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely any new wrestling is going to add something to the entire Arizona wrestling scene. So when we have this new talent coming in, when we have a new flavor of wrestling in a new area, in a new venue, putting more stuff on the internet, more promotion out, it's definitely just going to bring up the entire Arizona wrestling scene as a whole. So it's an exciting time, and it's going to be something exciting for the fans.
Yeah, can't wait. How can people get a hold of you on Twitter and follow you?
I'm on all forms of social media. You could do my Facebook is Alexander Hammerstone. Twitter and Instagram is @Alex Hammerstone. Snapchat Alex Hammerstone. So I'm all over the place. You could keep up on my wrestling dates as well as my merchandise store. So give me a follow on all forms of social media. And I definitely very interactive with the fans.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us, man. I appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you bring it home for the hometown on August 19th.
Hell yeah, guys. This was a great interview. Thank you very much.
Hey, man. Thank you so much for joining us.
All right, take care.
Of course, Alexander Hammerstone.
What a name. Hammerstone.
I love it.
Alexander Hammerstone.
It's perfect.
Yes.
What a great name.
Well, and it's really a really cool promotion. Like I said, I'm excited for it. Just despite the fact that I'm lucky enough to be involved with it, I'm excited because we don't get a lot of this here in Phoenix. We don't get a lot of people putting the work that Greg DeMarco and the people at PHX Wrestling are doing to put this event together and put this. This is going to be a continual show, so you're going to be able to see this once a month. A lot of fun stuff, for wrestling fans.
I just Googled him, and he looks the part.
He does look the part, right? He goes right with the name, right?
I'm listening to him, and I just looked him up. I'm like, yeah, that dude, he looks the part.
Well, I mean, and one of the questions I asked him is like right now, for guys like him, it's the most exciting it's ever been for wrestling because the opportunities are out there. Right now, WWE just put out, a tournament where they invited people that aren't even signees they're not actual roster members, but they brought them on TV. And I mean, even if these guys don't get picked up and offered a contract, they got national exposure on television as a star, and it allows them to at least go out back onto the indie scene, have a name that they've made for themselves, and not only help the promotions that they're wrestling in to bring in fans, but to get a considerable fan base and to work their way to where they want to be. I know quite a few guys that make a fantastic, and I mean equal to what the WWE superstars make on their own, wrestling in areas like New Japan and in California and such, and they do it on their own schedule versus the rigorous WWE schedule. So there is life for a lot of these guys that are able to go out on the road and do their thing on their own. And that's what's fun right now about it. It wasn't like this 10 years ago. You didn't have so many small territories and such that fans were enjoying. So, I mean, for the most part, what it makes is it allows people here in Arizona to have some local guys that they can go cheer for and see all the time, instead of waiting. Like the last time I saw Raw, or this last time they came into town, it was 2 years since the last time they were here before that. Literally, the last time that they were in town, I met the guys from the Steel Cage at the show, and that's when we became friends. And like 2 years later, they finally came back. So sometimes it's hard to wait that long to go see live wrestling, and to have some local shows like this. There's also some local Lucha Libre shows that put on stuff that are fantastic, and it's a lot of fun for the fans.
It's probably like minor league baseball, too, compared to the big leagues. You get much more up close and personal with these guys. The venue's more private or more, more homey, and you get to see these guys.
You go to see WWE, you're sitting, and I think we discussed this last week, but you're sitting, a considerable distance away, and you're lucky if you get to even come close to one of the superstars. At a show like this, the guys are going to be hanging out at intermission. They're probably going to be. They have a pre-show where if you're a VIP member or you got a VIP ticket, you can go ahead of time and take pictures and autographs and talk to the guys. And I mean, they're just much more approachable at this stage because, like you said, it is like the minor leagues. So people they're more excited about the fans' excitement of them, and they're not as admired as some of the people that have millions and millions of people following on social media and all that. And it's nice, but like even myself, I like going to the show I talked to you about in Reseda because of that exact factor. It's because of the fact that when I walk into that show an hour before the show starts, the people selling me the merch are the guys themselves. And, like, I get to see these guys online. I get to kind of admire them before I get to go see them. And then, you know, I get to go spend 5 minutes talking to them while I buy a T-shirt from them directly and put money in their pocket, you know, which is another thing that I'm a big fan of because, you know, these guys, they don't have a healthcare system. They don't have the ability to take, you know, the same thing that athletes do, which is a team taking care of them, especially indie guys like these guys. So, you know, you support them and you know, you do everything you can to help make them successful, especially when they're wrestling at the level that a lot of the talent at PHX is. I mean, it's some top talent. Some of the ladies, there's a women's match between Brittany Wonder and Sage Sin that I've had people from California and back east and stuff contacting me about, asking me like, wait, wow, is that really going to take place there? So they have some, like, you know, it's weird because there's a marquee level of talent, even though it's still independent minor league talent kind of thing. So, but for me as a fan, it's just, I've realized it's all fun to go watch, and if you enjoy it and you really love it, it's great to be able to go see it. Tickets starting at $10. You know what I mean? It's not the $70, $80 you're going to go see to spend on the big show. You know,
I'm going to have to come out there with you and bring my little dude. I got to come out.
I think I'll be there. You know, I brought my little dude to Arizona Event Center. It was about a year ago. His sister was singing the national anthem at this kickboxing type event. And it was great, like you said, because it's more intimate. You get to sit there, I mean, right next to the ring, basically, and in most cases, and you get into it. Even if you're not a fan, per se, it turns you into one.
Right.
Yeah. I'm like, whoa, that's amazing.
One of my friends, she brought her boss with her to work, from work to a wrestling event. She said it was like the best and worst decision she made because she literally turned her into a wrestling fan that night. And then, like, the next day it was like, hey, so who's this guy? And well, I'm going to buy his T-shirt and all that. And she's like,
where
oh,
are we
man.
going again?
Right. I created a monster. Right. And that's how it is. I mean, and, you know, sometimes it's not that. Sometimes it's just a night of entertainment. And that's one thing I'll give wrestling is, like, you could go know nothing about it, and it's like a play. They're going to give you a small introduction on who the good guys are, who the bad guys are. They're going to tell you about the story a little bit, and you get to kind of watch the actors themselves play it out in the ring.
How long is a normal event?
It's usually about 2 hours.
2 hours.
Yeah,
okay.
It's usually about 2 hours, and I know that, you know, like this event, for instance, they're bringing in a lot of talent. So, I mean, you're going to see a lot of variation. You're going to see guys putting on what is a really believable match, and then you're going to see some pretty funny, you know, guys come out there and entertain and do some different stuff. So I think that's the great thing about wrestling, and that's what we touched on is there's such a different way to do it now, and it can all be entertaining. You know, you have the guys that get slugged in the face and are okay with that, and then you have the guy coming out basically being a variation of a clown in some way. And it's that same thing that a circus is. It's you know, your acrobats and your clowns and your strongmen and your this. It's all of that, and that's what's beautiful about wrestling is there's so much different mix. It's really just a really entertaining night.
I can imagine it'll take me back to my youth. You know, when like you talked about, you know, 8 to 10 years old. I remember those guys when I was a little dude myself. So it'd be nice to take my son out there and introduce him to it.
I laugh at that because I talk to a lot of wrestlers and a lot of comedians that like podcast about wrestling and people that are fans, and like I always try to get around to that question of like, when did you get into wrestling? How did you get into wrestling? Rarely is it like, oh, I was 16 and, you know, whatever. No, it was like, I was 8 and someone took me to a show. And it was like, yep, I was 8 and someone took me to a show.
Me and my brother used to live for it on Saturday mornings.
Yes.
You know, oh, my goodness. Jimmy Superfly Snuka.
Right.
I mean, I can run down the list.
But and I mean, this kind of ties back into what we were saying about pro sports. The wrestlers are just much better at marketing themselves as something, as a name, as a product. They wear a hat and they do this thing. Or, you know, one of my favorite guys is a weird David Bowie androgynous kind of guy. But then he gets in the ring and kicks butt, and you're just like, oh man, like you know, it's so much entertainment overall from start to beginning. And I think that's the difference is, you know, sports aren't concerned about being entertaining anymore, and they're forgetting more and more that they are a source of entertainment. That's the reason they exist.
Absolutely.
Not for fantasy football and for people to bet on and for people to get angry about and have fights in parking lots. It's entertainment. It's supposed to be a good time. And, I mean, part of it is making those stars and creating marketable, you know, situations for sports like baseball and hockey that don't have it as easy as football does right now, you know.
Oh, yeah, and wrestling has. I mean, you said 8 years old. I was 7 or 8, and I was at my friend's house, and the whole family sits down watching The Undertaker.
Yeah.
Everyone says, and that's where then I became a fan, because I didn't know anything about it. And then I was like, wow.
Who's this guy? Why is he painted like that?
I love this guy.
Yeah, totally.
His hat and everything. So it was some fantastic stuff, and it's definitely a great thing. And then in high school, with WWE, just going to all the events when they did come here. But like you said, Eric, I mean, it was few and far between because, Raw would come, and then a year later maybe SmackDown would be here.
Or a pay-per-view or something.
So.
And I mean, I know they have a crazy schedule, and like WWE right now, they're so popular that they've split into 2 again, and they're going to try their best they're just going to try their best to get every dime out of, their opportunity right now, and I don't blame them. Wrestling is back to a higher level of popularity. I think that it was. It has its ups and downs. I think historically it's always had its ups and downs, but I think they're doing a better job now at recognizing those stars and who they need to be putting at the forefront despite their size. Wrestling is, in my opinion, it's a lot more about how entertaining you can be than how much muscle you have and how big you are as a person. So, guys that are big and muscular, they have to learn how to also be entertaining. That big muscular physique is only going to take you so far, and that's what we're finding now with a lot of the successful guys. They're just figuring out how to be entertaining and
more
how
personality, less muscle.
Because you're no longer going to attract people to buy tickets, but because you can pick someone up over the top of your head, they're going to say, like everybody can do that. What else can you do? Can you do a backflip while doing it? Because I saw that guy do a backflip while doing it. So if you can't, but I mean, I think too that's
you can do a backflip, Dave.
Yes, Dave.
Okay. Pointed directly at Dave. So,
but no, I mean, I think that it's obviously it's easier for wrestling to make their guys, a name. But I think sports overall in general could use a big lesson from that.
I hope there's some GMs from some of these other sports out there listening to us.
I know there are.
I hope they get the point that we're trying. We need more entertainment.
Yeah.
Yes.
And less seriousness. I mean, I love sports. I get it, man. I trust me. I've lost sleep too many nights to honestly admit to over the air over either a sporting event or a fantasy football loss, especially.
Oh, goodness.
I lose sleep on Sunday and Monday night over a fantasy football loss, but it's one of those things where I think it needs to keep in mind, like something's missing when you're telling guys they can't paint their face a certain way when they're going out there to play football, or they can't wear their jersey a certain way or whatever. It just all overall. I think there's just I get that there has to be rules and regulations, but I feel like they've made sports overall too stuffy, and it could all use a little fun and a little wildness and a little wackiness that wrestling has.
Oh, absolutely. And think about it. Dwayne Johnson's eyebrow basically now made him an A-list star.
Isn't that amazing?
It's unbelievable.
Isn't that amazing? An eyebrow.
Yeah,
right.
It's just great stuff. And then, of course, the PHX Wrestling Rise Friday, August 19th, so just 3 weeks away, basically.
3 weeks away, and I'll be there making my debut as a color commentator. I might even hit somebody with a steel chair. Who knows?
Hey, I'm going to put that one on the calendar. I might come out and see
we'll all be there. Arizona Event Center there in Mesa.
It's going to be a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. Tickets start just $10, and go to phxwrestling.com. Now, if they can't make it out there for some reason, where could they hear you, Derek? Is it going to be on their website?
They're going to have on their website. Yeah, they're actually going to have a video on demand where you can actually watch it on the phxwrestling.com website. They'll have more information about that. I'm sure they'll have a link or wherever. It might be actually on the website, but they have a lot of cool promotions going on. They have like a shirt where if you buy like their T-shirt, you get part of the VIP program, and like you said. Like I said earlier, you get to go in early and meet the wrestlers and all of that, and it's a really cool shirt. Honestly, I dig. It's close enough to the Suns for me as a sports fan to like what they got going on with their logo. But they've got quite a bit of entertainment planned for that night. So I definitely suggest checking out. If you can't make it out, check out the show on phxwrestling.com.
Absolutely, outstanding there, and very special thanks again, Alexander Hammerstone, PHX Wrestling Rise, the event coming up August 19th, Arizona Event Center. Ed Smith, thank you very much. Always a great time.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah, another shout out to Ed Smith's parents listening in.
See you tomorrow, Mom, Dad.
Hey, Mom and Dad.
There you go. And then, of course, Derek Montilla. And Where could everyone follow you? I know you're on Twitter a lot.
Get me on Twitter at cap_caveman with a K.
And Ed, you're Easy Love
Easy Love 87 and EdwardSmithSpeaks.com.
Awesome. Great stuff. Very special thanks to our producer, Kevin Gassman, and the North Mountain Brewing Company, 522 East Dunlap Avenue. We'll talk to everyone next week. NBC Sports Radio, AM 1060.